I was looking at like the Nexus mods for Baldur's Gate 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, maybe some of these are useful. There's one that was like UI mods, so I was like, okay, we can do this. But then I was like, oh well, let's look at the other Nexus mods games, see what's up. I was perusing through them. One of them is called Code Vein. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I have Code Vein in my library. My Steam library.
Have you played it?
Yes, I have. Let me check for how long.
I'm under the impression, or I was under the impression, that it is like an anime Souls-like. Is that correct? Okay.
This,
nice.
I gotta say, looks fucking crazy.
I thought it looked awesome. I opened its page on Nexus Mods, and I think like 5 out of the 6 top downloaded mods are like make the women naked.
Yes.
Like make my horny anime girls even hornier.
Even hornier. That's crazy because I'm looking at this girl
really
here,
tickled me,
and she's got like her boobs are so big that her shirt is ripping.
I have good news. It seems that Code Vein 2 launches this month.
Let's go.
Whoa.
And I can only imagine they figured out ways to make the women even more naked.
Well, now that woke is over.
That's what video games are about.
Yeah, now that woke has been defeated
in
the court of law.
Yeah. Games that are designed for gamers, finally.
Hello, everypony, and welcome to Leaving the Party, a chill podcast about role-playing games. My name is Kerry.
G'day, I'm Tess.
That is beautiful. And today we are talking about Pokémon Lazarus, a brand new Pokémon fan game developed by Nemo622, with many contributions from the ROM hacking community. Today, we have a very, very special guest and our local Pokémon expert, our resident Pokémon entrepreneur. Understander.
Yeah.
Her name is Yvonne. Yvonne, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, party members. I'm
Oh, that was so cute.
I'm the local Pokemon expert. I play a lot of Pokemon, maybe more than you do.
Yeah,
that's true. You definitely, of the three of us, have played the most. I think I've played a little bit of most of them, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I definitely feel like you have the most experience. And the most opinions, and that's the perfect combination.
Yeah, I think I've given probably all of them a fair try at this point.
I'm excited about having you on here today. You definitely are the person I know that has the strongest Pokemon opinions out of pretty much anyone I know. So I was really, this is a perfect.
Well,
fit.
Isn't it just something you love to hate? You know, like. You know, you grow up with something, it becomes a formative part of your childhood, and then you turn 30, and wow, you're not 5 anymore, so everything sucks.
Yeah.
That's true. And that's beautiful.
That's the beautiful part of life.
Oh, yeah.
You may recall last episode, we said that we were going to do Chained Echoes. And that's still true. It's on the docket. It's been a few months. I actually had a severe injury that I received in a self-suck accident. So fortunately they've reattached my penis. And everything's good now. But the one after this is going to be Chained Echoes. So if you played it, then keep that memory, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I've explicitly forbidden Tess from doing any self-sucking until we finish the Chained Echoes episode. So.
Yeah, it's really tough for me, but because I had the first surgery to get a rib removed, and then I was like, finally, we can do this, and then there was this accident, and one time, and
wow.
Jesus Christ!
Oh wow!
All right, anyway, we can get that if we need to. This is also, so you may have intuited we're talking about Pokémon Lazarus, but this is also the Pokemon episode.
I think that we talked about it a little bit, and I think that where we basically come down is I don't think once we've done an episode about a Pokemon game, it's sort of like what else? Like they're all Pokemon. Like, there's not a whole lot of I mean, there's obviously differences and stuff like that, and there's, I'm sure there's lots of stuff that we could talk about, but I don't plan on doing, at the time, never say never, but I don't plan on doing, right this moment, any future Pokemon main series games
if they ever release a good one, then we'll do that. But
if they decide maybe one day to release a good Pokemon game, unfortunately,
my money is not on that.
Unfortunately, that burden has been given to the ROM hacking community and to Nemo622, who is carrying the Pokemon franchise on their shoulders single-handedly.
That's damn true. That's damn true.
I think it's also pretty difficult to like talk about a Pokemon game and then not talk about like every single Pokemon game, because they are kind of all formulaic, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist on its own. You got to look at like the 20 years of games that came before it.
Before we get too deep into Pokemon, would you guys mind if I took you on a little side adventure?
Sure.
I would love that. A side quest, if you will.
It's a little side quest that I've been on. I've been thinking about this a lot for the past several months. I've been thinking about skateboarding video games. Because there's a lot of them, and there are a couple that came out last year that I wanted to talk about. Yeah. And so this is ding 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 ding. I'm ringing the bell. This is a segment for today called Kerry's Skateboarding Video Game Corner.
Nice.
So I like skateboarding. I like skateboarding video games, but it's winter. It's snowing today. It's snowing right now, covering the ground outside as we speak. It's fucking brick out, and it sucks. And I have mental problems, so I haven't been skating recently. But
fucking brick. I
I sure hope so.
I sure hope so. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. I've been playing some skateboarding games. I just wanna talk about them. I want to get them off my chest. And I'm covering.
I would love to hear about.
Consider this me covering the skateboarding video game beat. So there's a couple games I want to go with. Two I want to talk about just little tidbits, and then one I have a lot more to say about.
Yeah.
The first one is Skate City. Has anyone heard of this? This is Is
this an iPhone game?
This is an iPhone game. I played this.
I played this.
Did you really?
Yeah. A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah. It didn't come out last year. I just happened to play it last year. But I got a 1 month free subscription to Apple Arcade. And during that month, I played only this game and Angry Birds.
And I also played this on Apple Arcade, and the reason I got Apple Arcade is because Pocket Card Jockey, shout out Pocket Card Jockey, came out on Apple Arcade, but it's not as good as the 3DS version. So if you do want to play it, it's an awesome game, but you should do it on the 3DS.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Game Freak. It's a Game Freak original.
Oh, really?
Topical.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about Skate Story.
Yeah, Skate City. I have a Skate City story thing as well, but Skate City is just like a sort of like 2D or 2.5D sort of like side-scrolling, almost platforming skateboarding game, and it uses the sort of skate controls without a thumbstick. Instead, it's like a touchpad thing where you sort of swipe in different directions to do different tricks. It's a very like pared down version of the sort of skate simulation games, and it's really neat. It's okay. It's a little bit bland. Like I don't think there's a lot to get out of it, but I did want to mention it because it is the skateboarding game that I played last year. So Skate City.
It's good. I remember it being kind of Temple Run kind of coded.
Yeah, a little bit.
Some of that energy.
Yeah. It's very easy. You pretty much, like, as long as you swipe in the direction, it does a trick, and it's pretty hard to not land it unless you like run into something. So that's Skate City. It's very fun. I just feel like I felt the need to mention it. Another one that came out last month, I think, was Skate Story. This is a cool game published by Devolver, developed by Sam Eng. Skate Story is like more of a narrative sort of game. It doesn't really have characters per se, though. It's sort of like an allegorical narrative in the way that like a myth is, or like a bedtime story or whatever. And it's about a demon who wants to eat the moon and escape the hells. You're in doing so, you become like a guy made of glass, and you do a bunch of skateboard tricks. And you have to go through a bunch of levels. It's like weirdly a level-based game. This one, I also did not stick with. I think you'll find pretty common throughout all of the skateboarding games I'm talking about here. I did not stick with almost any of them. It's very cool, and it is the first game I've ever played to make power sliding feel good. This is like a really niche thing, but there's no skateboarding games that it feels good to power slide in, except for Skate Story. And I think that's a beautiful thing about it, especially because it's a game where you end up going fast quite a lot.
What is a power slide? I'm picturing the Akira slide.
It sort of is the Akira slide. That's kind of what it is. Imagine you're going forward on your little skateboard, and you turn your feet and your body and sort of lean back and push forward with your feet. People use it to stop a lot. And so you turn your skateboard so that the wheels are facing left and right instead of front and back. And you slide, and it makes like a screech, like a screeching sound as you slide to a stop.
Sounds like it would fuck up your wheels.
It does a little bit if you do it like all the time. But it's not like a super big deal.
I see.
And Skate Story, it's like one of the first tricks that you learn how to do is power slide, which I think is really funny.
Yeah.
But they managed to make it feel really good. But my problem with Skate Story is that it isn't like... I find the trick system to be really like kind of obtuse and unintuitive. Like with a lot of the like simulationist sort of skateboarding games, there's like a lot of like foot positioning based things. The games try to like mimic the foot positioning and foot movements with the stick controls. And Skate was like the first one to really do this, but then there's like Session, and Skate City is another one of these where it's like it sort of is trying to simulate the feeling of skateboarding with the controls. But with Skate Story, it does feel sort of arbitrary. Like an ollie is just pressing the like B button to jump, but a kickflip is like right trigger plus B, and a shove it is like a left bumper plus B situation, and a nollie is like a D-pad up plus B, and it gets more complicated. And so it sort of ends up in this like fighting game realm where you just end up having to like memorize combos as like abstractions of tricks, which I think is not what I really enjoy about skateboarding simulators and skateboarding games. I definitely feel like it's more inspired by like the Tony Hawk type of skateboarding game, which is more in that sort of vibe. Yeah, I didn't finish Skate Story. That's 2 out of 3 skateboarding video games that I played last year.
Exciting. I think I have played the one you're about to talk about.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
The last one, which is the most obvious one, is the newest release from EA, in the Skate series, and it's called Skate. That's what it's called.
Lowercase s.
Lowercase s. They've stylized it very heavily as
like
Skate.
The band Fun.
Yeah. Skate is like a series of sort of quote unquote realistic simulationist video games. It's sort of like the simulation answer to like Tony Hawk, because Tony Hawks are this like impossible score chasing arcadey style of game where you're building this like physically impossible combo of tricks that almost no human could ever do and trying to get 1,000,000 points out of it. But Skate's sort of initial appeal is like, what if you just want to skate around and do tricks and hit like a kickflip nose grind on like a knee-high ledge? And it also felt really good to do. And so Skate was one of the like first skate simulator games, and the way it's managed to do that is by doing that like realistic control scheme, which replicates the feeling of actually skateboarding, like I mentioned before. To like ollie in Skate, you like bring the right stick down and then up to mimic the ollie foot positioning where you pop the board with your back foot and then slide your front foot up to bring it up with you. So it's a skate sim, and it sort of is like the skate sim. It gets played by a lot of skaters. There's like, I can't even count the amount of times I've been to a dude's apartment and they've like, do you want to smoke weed and play Skate 3? So when EA is like, oh, we're making a new skate game, it's like, obviously, yeah, everyone is stoked about it. It's like a universally loved series. Everybody loves Skate. But the problem with the new one is that it's free to play.
It's made by EA.
Well, the other ones are also made by EA. It's just like,
okay, yeah,
even worse. It's free to play. It's always online. It's live service.
Ooh,
so
3 strikes. Ooh, that's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch.
So what sucks about it is that, like, aesthetically speaking, I think the whole thing is like totally bankrupt. It's kind of a miserable experience. It's like a totally corporate, it's somehow very corporate now. There's like a period of time in our lives where skateboarding was considered this sort of like counterculture thing, and the culture around it was sort of like an alternative to the corporate culture of America. And I have my critiques of this notion, but I'm gonna save it for the sake of this conversation. But what EA Skate says is like, no longer do we want skating to be an image of this sort of counterculture. Skating in EA Skate is extremely sanitized. It's all part of this like corporate video games, Game Awards style culture. You're like greeted with a tutorial where you followed around by a tiny little robot, a little AI named V, and V is like your personal AI. He's like an alternate reality assistant. He's named V because he looks like the VX1000, which is like a classic skate camera. And he's supposed to automatically film you, and he's the one who gives you these objectives you see on screen. And what you should do if you play Skate is right away, you should go into your options menu, and you should go to the voiceover audio option, and you should put it all the way down so you never have to hear anything that V says to you ever again. Because he's so...
I did that pretty much immediately.
That? I did that as well.
It was brutal. Yeah.
I think that is like the only way to play the game. Because he's so annoying. And other characters also chime in later if you don't turn it off. They're huge annoyances. They make you like fight against the game to get to the good part. You have to do like a million tutorials where you learn how to kickflip, and then V goes, "Yup, that was gnarly. Now let's try taking it to the streets." You know, like it's like that level of like constantly.
Yeah, it's very hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, exactly. So what they've done in Skate is they've taken this image of skateboarding and they've co-opted it into this digital AI, AR, sanitized unreality that we like now constantly live in with video games, especially in the tech industry and games industry. And the game is like fully leaned into being this simulation in the way that it's like all artifice now, which I find really frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's compounded by, and I have good things to say about like some of the mechanics. Like, it is fun mechanically to play often, not always, but like it feels pretty good. But it is always, there's always this presence of like the 4 different currencies, and like there's the loot boxes, and like all of these like microtransaction hell things that you imagine, and it's just it just feels like there's no heart.
Yeah, there's like heart. There's constantly like, because it's always online, there's like a bunch of people skating around, which is kind of fun sometimes, but then you're also watching like 5 people hit the same rail at the same time and they're like clipping into each other, which is forgivable but like kind of ugly. And
well, isn't there some sort of collision system built into the game with other players? What do you mean? I seem to remember when I watched you play Skate, there was something you did that was really funny, where you blocked off this like ramp or like hole that people would fly into. and I'm pretty sure you have a video of like 5 or 6 people just crashing into the wall because they're trying to avoid this thing you created to fuck up their clips.
Yeah, so this is a bad thing that I've done. There isn't a collision system with other players, but what you can do is there's an option to place obstacles wherever you want in the world, and those obstacles any player can interact with unless they explicitly like click on the obstacle to turn it off in their world. And so what I did is there was a big ramp. I got kind of bored one day. There was a big ramp and you could go down it, and at the end it goes up off of a little cliff. It's a big jump, and at the other side there's like a church window, and there's a small like hole to get in through the church. And the thing is, like, people were always trying to go down that ramp and fly into the church window. And so what I did was I went off that ramp and I landed my character like on top of the window, and then opened the editor and started stacking like benches and rails and ramps like in front of the window. And I spent like probably a half hour just like watching people fly directly into the wall that I created and like splatter on the wall, and trying to take funny screenshots of people like cartoon style pressed against the wall
eating shit.
Yeah. And then people would come by and delete them, and I would just be standing on the window, so I would place it back up as a so, admittedly, that's a little bit of antisocial behavior I took part in the new skate game.
It's countercultural.
It sounds like it made the game a bit better.
Yeah, I like to think so. I mean, it's freedom, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a bunch of customization options that are locked behind like in-game currencies. They're like, oh, you gotta complete missions to collect rip chips. Is one of the currencies, which is, I don't know, it just irks me. And there's a purple currency, which I forget the name of, that is like more expensive, and like you end up, I think the idea with that one is that you're supposed to end up spending real money on it. And also the world design kind of sucks. Like there's big parts of the world with like not a lot of skate obstacles. It's just like open streets that are just flat ground with cars. I find the whole, and it's like, it's a fun game. Like you can do all the same tricks and stuff, and there's like also this thing you can like roll around on the ground, which is really fun. There's a rolling option.
I was doing that. That's
yes,
fun.
I was doing that
mechanic.
Yeah, they added a Donkey Kong sort of roll. And you can also jump at the like perfect moment in the roll to get a little bit of like air while you're curled up into a ball. It's very funny.
Yeah.
But everything else about this game, it just like leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I find it sort of insufferable.
Yeah, I'm a little with you. I played this game pretty briefly with a friend, shout out Emma, who is a big skatehead. And it was really fun to like hang out with her in the world, and you know, sort of the like any shared world multiplayer kind of game, like your Minecrafts or your Fortnites. But it really felt like being on Long Island. There was like a real feeling of like, it's us two, we're friends, we're hanging out, but this space does not feel like in touch with our lives and values, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe this is just like my sort of long bias against Long Island, but it very much felt like it's nice to hang out with my friends here, but we only are doing it here because we kind of have to be here.
Yeah, I find that the world of skate really irks me. I feel it's like I said, I have my criticisms of the place that skateboarding takes, or the place that skateboarding positions itself as being in, as this like countercultural thing, which I don't necessarily think is 100% always true. I think there's a lot of people who will romanticize the like position that skateboarding holds in our culture, especially with like the early 2000s stuff. But I also find the way that this game has taken the exact opposite turn and like totally sanitized it and made it like fully in line with this like sort of private equity. I don't know. It's got private equity aesthetic. The only way to
private
describe
equity
it.
aesthetic.
And
it, like, I think a big part of it is like the whole world is built for skaters. And I think like in a level-based game that feels less weird, because you can sort of imagine that like there is a normal world outside of this,
right,
where normal people are doing their things, and so it's easier to imagine yourself as like a subculture. But because the game is open world, like you do see people who are not skaters driving their cars and stuff, but like that only enhances it because everything else is like for you, and like everyone you see, or like 90% of the people who you see, anyone who's not an NPC, is skating on skateboards across like this city that is designed for them.
Right.
And then I think that in combination with sort of the like the aesthetic and the and it's not even that the aesthetic looks bad, it just looks like corporate. And like all of the like, you have new loot boxes notifications, and that the way like your tutorial characters speak to you being like very AAA tutorial kind of thing.
Yeah, they all lends this feeling of like tutorial voice.
It all feels like no, this is just how the world is. Normal people are skateboarding all the time. They don't have any politics.
Yeah, it's all just very sanitized.
Not that I want skateboarding Disco Elysium, but like
I wouldn't mind.
It feels. I definitely don't want EA to make it.
Well, I think that like this is part of sort of a thing about like skateboarding as a culture, right? Is like you have to. There is a sort of political aspect to the thing that skateboarding does. Like skatable, something that I've heard people say before is like skatable architecture is like not anti-homeless architecture. It's like skatable architecture is accessible architecture, Yeah. And so creating a city in the real world that is skatable is creating an accessible city, because that means that you have things like ramps and you have things like long benches that people can lay on and stuff like that.
Yeah. Without studs and knives on them.
Yeah, studs and knives and like benches that have been dashed in two,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just find this game insufferable. It's fun, but it's also whatever. And I can't not mention the fact that last year EA has begun the process of a $55 billion buyout to Saudi Arabia's private investment fund and to Jared Kushner and Silver Lake. So it's like soon it's going to be like Saudi Arabia's skate. And I just, I guess I'm good, man. Like I'm all set.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's where I'm at. You should play Session. Session's pretty fun.
Okay, I will check that out. I did find out. So when I was trying to play with my friend, and I had a great time playing with her, to be clear. That's just mostly because I love hanging out with my friend, not because of the game. I was trying to figure out what my username was, and I was trying all the normal ones that I usually use, and I was like, I don't know, I can't figure it out. Like, it didn't make me log in, so I must have already been logged in. I must have an EA account, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And then eventually I realized that I had been forced to create an account when I played Jedi Survivor. And I had forgotten about this and clearly been stayed logged in. But while I was doing that, it made me very angry that EA made me create an account to play a single player offline video game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been extremely PO'd while making my EA account, and I had made my username... I had made it EA Gargle My Nards. So if you see me in the skate video game, the little banner above my head, it says EA Gargle My Nards. I remember spending a long time trying to find one that was like that wouldn't flag their like profanity filter.
Yeah.
Because I obviously started out with like EA fuck you, suck my dick. But they didn't. Anyway. Yeah. Nards. Gargling nards.
That's a good combination of words.
Acceptable.
I like that. Gargle my nards. It's like rolls off the tongue a little. There's a poetry to it.
Yeah, it does. Buddy, you bet they do.
I love the idea of reaching out to EA support with like you're having trouble like getting into your account, or you have like need a refund on something, and the poor EA worker looks at this ticket queue and sees you have a password reset request from EA Gargle My Nards.
Yeah. And I stand by that.
And they probably click on that one first, honestly, because at the end of the day, it's a password reset.
I like to think that whoever is working at like EA IT tech support type shit, they probably think that's really funny.
Yeah, I can't imagine the EA call center employees are huge fans of their corporate decision making.
Yeah.
They probably make sure to tell their language learning model to make their response extra flowery for EA Gargle My Nards, because they're like, yeah, you're so right.
Wow, so insightful and unique. And not only that. Interesting.
Hell world.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was my segment. I'll unring the bell.
Yeah.
That's my segment about skateboarding games.
Play the bell ringing noise backwards.
Yeah.
I expected you to bring up Kirby Air Ride a little bit.
Oh, that's right. When I talked about this with Yvonne, I was like, the one good skateboarding game that came out last year was Kirby Air Ride.
And she doesn't even play it.
No, I don't play it. It's not really for me.
Different type of skateboarding.
I played a little bit of Kirby Air Ride. We are going to talk about Pokemon eventually, I promise.
Yeah.
But I played a little bit of Kirby Air Ride when I was at your house. And I enjoyed it a lot. I'm a big like racing game fan. I really enjoyed the level based kind of races, like the regular style.
The air ride mode.
Yeah, okay, that's the air ride mode. I enjoyed that a lot. The like
city trial, the battle royale.
Yeah, we played a bunch of city trial, which I think is not really so much to my taste. The thing that really struck me about that game is like it felt like playing a fighting game that is a racing game. You know, it didn't feel like a racing game, which is fine. It was not quite like anything I had ever experienced, which was interesting.
Yeah,
it was nice.
I like Kirby Air Ride. I think it's hard to decipher for me. It's hard to for me to understand what's happening.
It is. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. It's really impenetrable, which is not helped by the fact that like you're going a million miles an hour.
But Yvonne, you love this game. Tell us about.
I mean, I think it was shocking to me when I first played it and it first came out. I was really pleasantly surprised at how true it felt to the first game. Like like the feel of all the different stars and the sound and just the general perspective in playing the game. It is like Sakurai plucked Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube from 2004. I think it came out in 2004. And put it on the Switch too, and it just it fits so well. I agree that the city trial is a bit chaotic, but I imagine that also just part of that is probably an effect of I just started this game and there are 15 other guys out here and they're all killing me and I don't know what's going on. But I even because I played it a bit myself and I've managed to somewhat get a handle on things. But I agree, it is very chaotic.
It feels like the kind of game that you need to own and practice a bit on your own before you understand what's going on, which feels pretty strongly in contrast to Mario Kart, where it's anyone can just pick it up and play it and have a good time. It feels a lot more like Smash in that way, where if you don't grow up playing Smash, or if you don't have 15 hours to play it by yourself to figure out how it works, you're not going to understand what
it
to
is
do.
Such a Smash Brothers game too, which I think is so funny. Down to the loading screen, to the menus, it tickled me how Smash Brothers that game is.
All the UI. I mean, it's a Sakurai game, right? So all the UI, all of the announcer that goes Kirby, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. The announcer's so awesome.
Yeah, he's so sick. It's all very Super Smash Bros. And then at the end, when you win, it shows your character and it goes. In a
and then the explosion is literally the ultimate. You came in first place.
Yeah,
it's little splash screen. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
I think the UI design is his wife, right? Sakurai's wife.
Is that true?
I think that makes sense. Yes.
The UI.
God, that's so awesome.
I heard someone say that on a podcast one time, I imagine.
I also heard it, and I don't listen to podcasts, so I think it's probably true.
Well, you listen to one podcast.
Yeah, you listen to Leaving the Party.
Leavingtheparty.blog/podcast.
Well, that one, your episodes are multiple. I don't know how I get.
Buddy, you're listening to it now.
That's true. This will be the first podcast I've ever listened to.
Awesome.
Let's talk briefly about Pokemon Lazarus, and in general, and then after that we'll take a little break maybe. So Pokemon Lazarus is a ROM hack, and you may not know what that is. So in the Pokemon enjoyer scene, there is an ability for people who are computer savvy, who know how to code and things, taking the files of the game that they have on their computer and editing them to change certain things about the game. So, for example, you could instead of making one of the starter Pokemon to be Trico, you could change it and have it be Weepinbell instead. So that's sort of the kind of thing that gets changed on a low level. But as like years have gone by and like the code base of these games is much more well understood, and there's been a huge amount of like work done on like tools to help people work on these ROM hacks, the ability to change things has expanded greatly. And we are at a point where some of the Pokemon games, specifically the third generation, which is Fire Red and Emerald, also the ones before, but most of the ones you see are Fire Red and Emerald. It's possible to overhaul them completely and to make functionally new games with new characters, new Pokemon, new worlds, new graphics. There are some things that stay the same, obviously, like Pokemon battles basically function the same way. You are a little sprite and you walk around in the overworld. The screens are the same size, stuff like that. But to varying extents, you can create a new game for all intents and purposes. Still a Pokemon game. So that's what we're talking about. And Pokemon Lazarus is one of these things. It's created by this person, Nemo622. That's their handle. With the help of many other people from the scene. And by help we mean like purchasing art assets. So like little tiles and designs that other people have made, and also all of the tools that are used to create these games. And then there's also sort of like little packages of like functionality that someone will make for the ROM hacking scene that people can then put into their games. So, for example, you could take all of the new Pokemon that have come out since the third generation, and like bring them into your game, and it will have like all of the sprites and all of the functionality and all the little tweaks to the battle mechanics, that kind of stuff. Someone has done that work, made it work in the third generation, and you can just sort of plop it into your new ROM hack. Obviously, there's some caveats. It's probably more complicated than that. But basically, the reason I'm saying all this is because like there's a kind of way that people talk about, especially right now, like single developer games, where it's like sort of this auteur thing where it's like, wow, they did all of the work themselves. And that's awesome. Like I'm not trying to take away from like the skill or dedication that those people put into it, but I think it's really worth celebrating. Like the fact that this is possible is because of years and years of work from everyone who's passionate about it. And I think it's really, really cool. And it's given us Pokemon Lazarus, which we're about to talk about very positively because it's great. And I feel very, very grateful and very like proud of the gamers. I feel proud of gamers.
I feel proud of
something
gamers.
that doesn't happen very often.
I think that is an incredibly good point. It reminds me of like, I feel like this is one of those things that just it's a Kerry topic that I come back to all the time. But it reminds me of like RPG Maker games and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, for example, Fear and Hunger, which everyone considers to be by that one person, Miro, but is using tons and tons and tons of plugins that have been created by other RPG Maker people over the course of like, at this point, decades of like people using RPG Maker and creating plugins and other stuff like that. And yeah, it's definitely very similar with ROM hacks.
For reasons, it's a little bit tricky to tell you how to play this game. But how a ROM hack basically functions is you have a copy of the game that you own legitimately, and then you can download a patch file from Nemo622's website.
Yeah, they have a Ko-fi.
Yeah, and you can play the patched game on your phone or on an emulator handheld if you have that. The phone is the easiest way, but it's pretty easy is the point these days. If you Google it, I'm sure someone can teach you. I played it on the phone on the subway.
Yeah, I also played this on my phone. I played this using the Delta app on my iPhone. If you go on the
Delta app.
Dude, it's so sick. I honestly use it like all
really
the time.
Awesome.
If you go on the App Store, you search up Delta, it comes with like at least like 4 or 5 different emulators for stuff like the DS, the SNES, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, that sort of thing. and you can just like sort of plug ROMs into that, which you legally obtain. And then
if you're curious about how you would legally obtain all these things, you should Google it.
Yeah.
Google
legally obtain Pokemon Emerald.
How to legally obtain Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Give that a Google.
But yeah, that you just have to basically patch your legally obtained Pokemon Emerald with the Pokemon Lazarus BPS patch file. Then you can just play it the same way you would play any other ROM.
If you know a gamer in your life, you can just ask them, and
you have to just find a transgender woman to do it for you.
Yeah,
and they will. I did this for my coworker.
They would love to.
Yeah,
I did this for a friend of mine.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, if you're listening to this, then you know a transgender woman. So
that's pretty likely. If you don't know any transgender women, shoot me a DM. Yvonne, how did you play this video game?
I also played on my phone. I played on the recommended app or program to play it on Pizza Boy on Android. I also attempted to put it on our Miu Mini, which is a small little device that you can use. Yeah, a little device. It's a really cute little gadget. It has the form factor of like a Game Boy Color, and you can load it up. I think it supports up to PlayStation 1 games, surprisingly. But Kerry and I own one and had been using it in the past to play, mostly RPGs, as you would imagine. And then I was playing it on my phone, and I was like, I really love pressing physical buttons. So let me try and load it onto the Miu, and I'll just transfer my file and my save file and keep going from there. And so I did that, and then it died and is a brick. So I don't know if the Miu is the best choice, all you listeners out there.
Okay, I will say the Miu Mini that we have now, this Miu Mini has come up on our show before. But this is becoming a theme sort of for Leaving the Party, is our misadventures in the emulating device scene. But the Miu Mini has come up on our show before. This is, no lie, one of the best gifts I've ever received. Is you gave me this Miu Mini that had a bunch of like my favorite games already downloaded onto it. It was already set up. It was perfect. I will say, I think that it died less because of Pokemon Lazarus and more because the power button was like really fucked up. And like now I think it's gotten so bad to the point that like you can't really turn it on without also turning it off. You know what I mean? Like it
got a bit gummy.
Yeah, it's a really gummy power button right now. So I think that part of that was I don't think it was because of Pokemon Lazarus entirely. I think it was also part of like a hardware issue of just like being in our bag for like 100 years since we got it.
I think I basically said this in the last episode, so I'm not going to harp on it. But my belief about emulator handhelds is that they have not yet made a good one. Like if you are not already like a tech whiz, don't bother. Like it's too hard. You're gonna have too many problems. If it's not interesting to you to like update firmware, then like just play it on your phone. Don't bother.
That said, later this evening, Yvonne, we should look into getting a new emulator device. Yeah, Tess's internet went out. Oopsies, but we're back. I think I was just
the little boy that holds together the wires in my living room.
He had his own self-suck incident, and we had to.
Okay, well, let's not.
Look, we cleaned him up quicker than
we just said he's a little boy. So. Let's not.
Oh well, I was thinking more in stature and not in maturity, but I suppose.
The chimney sweep that holds together all of Tess's wires. It frequently gets shocked.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he passed out from hunger.
Potato.
Boy, can't I have just a wee bit of food, Tess? That's my impression of your wires, boy.
No.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad that you call him that because he doesn't have a name.
Yeah. No, of course
I
not.
refuse.
He's a servant.
The help. You were asking what we thought of the video game.
Yeah. Everyone came away from Lazarus feeling pretty posy, right? I think generally everyone here liked Lazarus.
Yes. I was really pleased with Lazarus. Although I think my enjoyment of it became a little bit more nuanced as time went on. But overall, yeah. I think it has such a wonderful base, and I think it also has a lot of room to grow, which Nemo has already shown in Emerald Seaglass that they're willing to do, and like that they will and can improve one of their Romhacks like considerably iteration upon iteration. So like I imagine in about a year or so, I'm going to come back to Pokemon Lazarus, and I think like version 2.0 or 2.1 will be out, and I'll be able to come back to it and do an entirely new run, and I'll have a lot of like updated opinions on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Basically, there are definitely some light criticisms that I have, but I mean basically I think this is one of the better Pokemon games. And
isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. There are pluses and minuses, but yeah, it's an amazing game. It's great. It captures everything that Pokemon should.
That was one of the things I was really pleased with as like the game was starting up, and as like that first to fourth gym leader like arc of the game felt so in line with like exactly what the first few generations of Pokemon really like hit on for me, like growing up. Like it doesn't, I feel like with a lot of Pokemon ROM hacks, particularly ones that are creating their own region, and I'm not going to proclaim to be super experienced in all of these because I tend to like the Pokemon ROM hacks that are like a change up on existing regions. But it feels very much in line attitude-wise, scope-wise with a Pokemon game that would have been released when we were children.
I think that's a great summary.
Like you have you're not like some super special chosen one. You're not really anybody. You are a student at, I believe, Acrisia University, and you are just hanging out with your rivals and your professor, and you're going to go and, travel the world and see new Pokemon and help the professor with his research. And that's like, it's all you can really ask for, man.
Yeah. Do we want to briefly like just explain like what Lazarus is? Like I can give you a very, very basic rundown of like what the game is.
Yeah, let's do like a little summary there, and then talk about Pokemon the franchise.
Yes, I would love to
broadly,
do that.
In our sort of part one.
So Pokemon Lazarus, it is a ROM hack. It's what they call a total conversion ROM hack, which is to say it's a completely new game. It's based off of the engine of Pokemon Emerald. It's a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald, but it's a completely new Pokemon game with a new region and everything. Lazarus takes place in the Ilios region, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, which is based on Greece. It's an all-new region with a brand new story. It takes place in this world that's sort of rich with like history and biology and character. It's all completely new sprites in a new art style, sort of mimicking the Game Boy Color like Gen 2, Johto, and Pokemon Crystal style, like art style. It's got over 400 Pokemon, pulling from pretty much every generation as far as I can tell, and lots of tweaks and rebalances, including some new typing and stats for some Pokemon, a wholly new like quest system that they introduced, and a bunch more. It's basically a mod for Emerald that has become its own fully featured Pokemon game with its own unique style. Lazarus is sort of a follow-up to another game that Nemo622 made, which was called Pokémon Emerald Seaglass. And Pokémon Emerald Seaglass is a ROM hack for Emerald that retextured the whole game in the style of Generation 2, in the same style as Lazarus, this Pokemon Crystal style, like Johto region, my personal favorite, my heart. It's very beautiful in my humble opinion. I really love the art style in both of these games. Do we want to talk about sort of our relationship to Pokemon before, and then get into like Pokemon in general?
Yeah, because I think we all have opinions about what Pokemon is, has been, and should be, and it's pretty difficult to talk about what Lazarus is trying to do without knowing those things. Yeah, so my first Pokemon game was Leaf Green, and then I played Emerald as well as a child. But Leaf Green was the main one. I still think it's good. I think my most sort of pivotal moment, though, in 2021, I played Pokemon Black for the first time, and I had owned it as a child. I had played probably the first couple gyms, but I had not played it a ton as I had with Leaf Green and Emerald, because Pokemon Black came out around the time that I was kind of growing out of Pokemon. So I played it in 2021 and thought it was really great. And I had sort of this feeling of Pokemon. The reason I don't like Pokemon really anymore is because I'm not a child. The sort of nostalgia thing. That was sort of what I thought.
Yeah.
And it was very surprising to me to go to Pokemon Black, which I didn't know anything about, and play it and be like, no, this is great.
Yeah.
Like,
that game whips.
0% of this. Yeah. 0% of this is nostalgia. And it is still like, no, this is a great game, which, is a complicated emotion to have, to be like, okay, it's not actually my fault. It's not. It is obviously a little bit of the rose-tinted glasses, but I think it legitimized some of the feelings I had about like Pokemon used to be good and now it's not, which I think is shared to various degrees by various people. I'll put this in the show, or I'll give a link to Kerry to put in the show notes. But I wrote a review of Pokemon Emerald that I think touches on this, that I'm really proud of. In that, I talk about a friend. Her name is Winona. Shout out Winona, who said she was going through a divorce from Pokemon, which I relate to a lot. I think that's a really good like way of talking about it.
Yeah.
It feels like I love this thing. I think it has so much potential. It's been really beautiful. It has the potential to be beautiful again. Even the more recent games, which I'm not very hot on, I think have like really fantastic aspects to them. Mm-hmm. They're obviously labors of love, or in to the developers. But the reality is, like, my basic background is like I've played a lot of Gen 2 since then. I've played all of Gen 3, a ton of Gen 3, Gen 4 a bit, and 5 Black and White. And I have some qualms with some of those things, but the first Pokemon game that I didn't really have an interest in finishing was X. And then like I had an ex who had Shield. I played a bit of that and just found it like really pretty distasteful. Mm-hmm. I bought Shining Pearl when the remakes came out, and I played a lot of it, but like I don't think it's very good.
No, not really.
The only sort of game that I think that I really enjoyed was Legends Arceus, which I think is like really strong, has a ton of potential, but the later games other than that, Scarlet Violet, I heard so many bad things. Nothing about it seemed interesting to me. Like the sort of core, there are some like extremely core problems with those games that just seem like really obvious. And anyway, so I think like my general sentiment has been like, I did love it as a child. I was under the impression that it had gotten worse, and then I realized that I was right about that, which is usually not the case. Usually it's like, oh, you think something has gotten worse, and then you go back and revisit the thing you liked as a child, and you're like, no, I was just a kid. It was just always the way that it is.
Right.
But yeah,
it is interesting,
that's
right?
where I'm at.
To sort of grow up away from Pokemon and be like, oh, well, it's not necessarily that Pokemon got worse. It's just that I'm almost 30 years old now. And then to actually like go back and be like, oh, these are better games though. Like, yeah. I can also talk about this a little bit. I've played Pokemon games for literally as long as I can remember. Because when I was very, very young, I was born in 98, so this must have been like the early 2000s or something.
Me too as well. Yeah.
Yeah. My sister Lane had a copy of Pokemon Red on her like purple Game Boy Color. And it was like the see-through like the transparent plastic like Game Boy Color, just sick. And we even had the light extension that was like the wire that sort of.
Oh yeah.
It's a flashlight. You could shine the light on the screen and play at night. Anyway, I had Pokemon Red. And I've been playing Pokemon since I was extremely young. I was a Blastoise kid, big man Blastoise, and I had a Beedrill on my team. And, a lot of those are still some of my favorite Pokemon. But Generation 4 was the era of Pokemon that I sort of chose most to be invested in as a kid. I had like Leaf Green and I had Emerald, but I didn't really stick with them. I beat them. I played all of the games, but I got really, really into like Pokemon Platinum and Pokemon Heart Gold, specifically, those two. And I still think that as far as the mainline series Pokemon games go, Heart Gold is my favorite one. I was a little baby. I was playing the girl in Pokemon Platinum as a kid, and I played the boy in Heart Gold because, frankly, he looks cooler. And I was just obsessed with those games.
The fashion of the look of the two in Platinum is like so sick.
Yeah,
the player characters look so chic.
Yeah, they gave Dawn
outfits.
or whatever, the girl, they gave her like a cool winter jacket in Platinum. So fucking sick. Yeah, I think Heart Gold was the one that I stuck with the most. I remember really loving that you could like walk around and your Pokemon would follow you, which is something that they carried over into Lazarus. I feel like since that game came out, that hasn't been a consistent mechanic in Pokemon, like having your Pokemon follow you around in the world.
Yeah.
And I never understood. I think it's like should be obviously essential to the games that your little guy follows you around in the overworld. I think it's kind of crazy that they release games where they don't do that.
It's in so many Romhacks. Like most Romhacks you play will have that in them.
Yeah, I think it's insane to not
obviously
have
there
it.
are difficulties, but yeah, it's like so people obviously love it. And
yeah, but Heart Gold is my favorite. Besides Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky, which is the best Pokemon game. Debate me.
Yeah, we're explicitly not talking about this. So we're not talking about Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah, we're talking about the main series.
Well, a lot of it is because we want to do like a Mystery Dungeon.
I would love to do a Mystery Dungeon. Those are the debate me. I'm putting up the sign, the Charlie Kirk sign. Debate me. Yeah. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky, best game. Counting or not counting Mystery Dungeon, but I never really was a kid who was into a lot of the other Pokemon stuff. I didn't get into the cards. I didn't watch the anime much. I was strictly like a Pokemon games person. And eventually I sort of just fell off of them. I kind of started losing interest around like Sun and Moon, I think, is when Sun and Moon was the first games I didn't actually beat. Like I didn't get to the Elite Four. And Sword and Shield was cool, but didn't win me over. And then I never played Scarlet and Violet. And I like the Legend games, but could sort of take them or leave them. So I don't feel the same like emotional attachment to a lot of the new entries in the games the way that I do for like the Gen 4, like Heart Gold and Soul Silver era.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
It is your turn.
It is your
Yay!
turn.
Okay,
I'm handing you the baton.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, I
she's rubbing her hands together.
I feel like a little cicada or a cricket or some sort of creature. No, I started playing Pokemon when I was 6. My memories of when exactly I started were fuzzy, but I do remember that as a child, my starting game that I think was all mine was Pokemon Ruby. I know I came into the possession of a Pokemon Blue and a Pokemon Silver at some point, but to me then those games were kind of ugly and did not look as good as the Pokemon Ruby on my Game Boy Advance, so I didn't really play them too much, and honestly that criticism has kind of held true for me. It's developed a bit, but I do think Pokemon Blue is kind of an ugly little game. But I started Pokemon Ruby and then eventually got Pokemon Emerald, and since then I was totally hooked. I've played every single mainline game, usually around release. So I had started with Ruby, went to Emerald, then I got Pokemon Diamond, I got Pokemon Platinum, I chose White and White 2, I chose X, I chose Moon. I did not play Ultra Moon when it came out. There was a bit of a divot. Oh, I guess Heart Gold, yeah. Well, the point is that I played all of them. And I played all of them as they were coming out, regardless of whether I was necessarily liking them as much or not. I feel like my sort of development of my Pokemon opinions happened around Gen 6. I feel like from the Gens 1 to 5, you could really tell when that Pokemon was sort of building upon itself. And it felt like each generation was kind of taking the good parts of the past generation and improving upon them and incorporating them into the next generation. And I felt that when Gen 6 came out and they made that big swap to 3D, that's when I was kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? And that's when I was kind of like, okay, am I aging out of Pokemon, or are they going in a direction that I don't agree with, or is it a combination of both? I don't know. But I did continue playing Gen 7, and I enjoyed Gen 6 and Gen 7 for what they were. Gen 8 came out, and I was a really big Dexit guy. When they announced they were cutting the national Dex from Sword and Shield, I was writing comments.
You were one of the comments guys.
I was like, don't buy Pokemon Shield or Sword. Everybody, if we don't buy Sword and Shield, they'll hear us and understand us. And that was just adorable of me to think so. But if we don't buy the games, they'll listen to us, the gamers, the real gamers. And
we have to use our collective power.
Yes, precisely. And if we just make our voices heard, they'll put the national Dex back in Pokemon games. And so here we are today in 2026. And that's all I have to say about that.
I didn't know this about you. I didn't know you were
Yeah, that's really.
That's
I've also never heard the phrase Dexit before. That's really funny.
Oh, yeah.
That's
well,
really
I
funny
think they were kind
that.
of happening around the same time. And it is, the Sword and Shield are based off of the UK, so it's pretty totally appropriate.
It's very funny. It's very funny to me. This happens like so rarely because you're like a very nice and sweet person and like and generous and kind and everyone likes you. And once in a great while, you will say something about like having once been a toxic gamer, and it tickles me so much. I think it's funny. So hilarious.
Yeah, I was really cool because I've been playing these games like pretty religiously. I always had like a Pokemon game on my person or near it for most of my life. So I suppose in a certain way it felt like they're ruining this thing that I've based my identity on. What? This is a personal attack, Obviously it's not, but it's like, damn. They're capitalizing my video games.
That's so funny.
I hate when they do that.
I know.
I hate when art becomes a commodity.
Ugh,
yeah.
God.
So true. That was one of the things that you had said earlier about the newer Pokemon games, so that there's obviously a labor of love in there.
Yes.
Like there's obviously a lot of care that goes into it, and a lot of people with really interesting ideas that are not given the time to like bring those things to fruition and to create a full game. And we can speculate about that sort of thing later. But I do feel that it's important to reckon with the way that Pokemon is also through its like yearly release cycle sort of a labor of economic necessity for the Pokemon company. Like they have to create a new game because they have to create new Pokemon cards and new plushies, and they have to create a new season of the anime and stuff like that, because all those things are where the money comes in. So
yeah, Pokemon is the biggest, most profitable franchise on Earth.
Yeah,
it's above Disney, it's above Star Wars, it's above Harry Potter. It's number one. And I should have written down in my notes what the number is, but something like 70% of their profit comes from merchandise, something like that. It's way way more than the video games. So like, in the same way that the New York Times is a video game company that also owns a newspaper, like Pokemon is a plushie and trading card company that also owns a video game developer.
Yeah.
But what seems to be the case is like the people in the video games are doing sort of the Pokemon design and the planning, and also video games take an extremely long time to make these days. Like video games made by Nintendo of this sort of caliber, your Zeldas and your Marios, take like 7 or 8 years, and Pokemon has been releasing them every 3 years. And it shows. It really shows, because like I think it's more obvious in Scarlet Violet, and I didn't even play them, so Yvonne, maybe you can speak more about this. But like, there are things in that game that are really remarkable and really smart. Like, I hear the writing is really good. There are parts of it that look cool, like the UI with all of the books.
And the Pokedex.
Really fun.
Yes, I agree.
The Pokedex UI is really fun. There are like some really good ideas in there. there's also like these massive obvious problems. Like the game shipped with like development assets in it that like anyone could see were not supposed to be there. The thing I think about a lot is in those games, which are open world, so you can go anywhere and do anything, there isn't really like level scaling or any...
They don't have a smart way to scale levels. They don't scale to your party and make it the world truly worthy of exploring. It's like okay, we have a level path that we want the gamer to follow, but we're not really going to show that explicitly with like a route design or a big yellow painted arrow. We're just going to, draw a circle, say go, and then you figure it out.
Yeah. And the gyms, I think, are the strongest example of this, where like there is kind of an intended order for the gyms. Like one gym will have higher levels than the next one, but they do not tell you what that order is. So I've heard a lot of things about it being a very frustrating experience. I imagine that it is. And I think that's the kind of design problem that takes time and thought to experiment with and implement. And it appears to me that those time and resources are just not available to the developers, because they're not primarily there to make a video game. They're primarily there to design creatures to sell plushies of.
Can I go very briefly into our first Wikipedia corner of the episode?
Please. Oh, I would love that.
So
I don't have any Wikipedia corners.
I've got two.
Yes.
This is our first one.
I love Wikipedia.
Ding ding ding, I'm ringing the bell again. This is our Wikipedia corner. This one I have titled "The Complicated Corporate Structure of Pokemon and How They Get Their Damn Money."
God, I'm so excited to hear this.
So, as I understand it, Pokemon, the property, which is, like you said, one of the most, if not the most profitable media franchise in the world. Pokemon,
I think it depends a little how you count it, but it's definitely arguably.
Yeah. Pokemon is actually owned and operated by 3 companies, which is not really traditional for an intellectual property like this. Pokemon, they've gone on record and saying, is so big that it's not really manageable. So it's split into 3 equal shares, sort of a Triforce of these things. And the 3 companies that own Pokemon are Game Freak, who is the developer. They develop the core mainline series of games. Nintendo, who does publishing and stuff. They put the games on the Switch too. Nintendo is in charge of all the Pokemon game publishing. And Creatures is the company that manages the trading card game Empire and the related merchandise. And together, these 3 companies have also founded a 4th company, which is also equally owned by the 3 of them. And this company is called the Pokemon Company. And the Pokemon Company, which began as a company that would manage the Pokemon Center stores in Japan. So like in the early 2000s, they had these merchandise stores in Japan or in Asia generally, and they were called Pokemon Centers.
Fun fact, I don't mean to interrupt you on
No, please.
Nintendo store in New York City was formerly a Pokemon Center a la the ones in Japan.
I didn't know that.
I want to say that they changed it over to be a general Nintendo store in maybe 2006.
You're talking about the one in like Times Square or near Times Square or whatever?
Yes. I'm talking about the big one with the statues that everyone likes to take pictures with. That used to be a Pokemon exclusive store.
I didn't know that.
There is. I don't want to distract too much, but I did see on Instagram there's like a Pokemon themed store somewhere new in New York that is, I can't imagine official, but really funny that they're doing that. It's called like the Pokemon store or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Please continue, Kerry.
Yeah. So Pokemon Company began as a company that manages the Pokemon Center stores, but now they manage a bunch of shit. Pokemon Company is in charge of all the branding, the marketing, licensing, merchandise, the anime. This brand, the Pokemon brand, more so than the video games really, is the moneymaker for Pokemon. It's like the brand itself is how they make their money. They sell these plushies. They keep selling these cards. The cards, man, everybody loves the cards. Vonnie can speak about the cards more than I could, but everybody loves the cards. They have made an insane amount of money off of Pokemon cards. In 2023, The Pokemon Company made $10.8 billion in retail sales alone, making it 7th on the list of top 10 global licensors, according to License Global's retail reports. And I want to briefly pivot to a sort of a subclass for this Wikipedia corner, which is this list I found on Wikipedia of the highest grossing media franchises, on which Pokemon is right on top. And it says here that since 1996, Pokemon has made $116 billion. And quite handily, it has broken down where that money came from. And so I want to talk about this real quick.
Yes.
Retail sales, I have to assume, includes things like plushes, trading cards, etc., merchandise generally. Retail sales, $103.6 billion is from retail sales. Mobile games, and I'm really curious how they quantify this. I don't know if mobile games includes the actual video games, because those are all mobile games technically. But mobile games, they count as $10.23 billion. The box office, so this is for the movies, is $1.16 billion. Home video, they've made $40 million. And this last one is really funny. Jet aircraft livery sales, which is $3 million. So that is how they break up.
Really
that is how they break up the profits that the Pokemon Company has made. But you can tell that most of this comes from the plushies and the trading cards. And I can only speculate, really. I'm not like a big media economics person. I don't really know. This isn't my sort of forte or expertise. But I can only speculate that this is the sort of like loop that the company has found itself in. That the Pokemon Game Company, aka Game Freak, the developer, has to pump out a game every year or two that has a new series of Pokemon. And these new series of Pokemon can be turned into plushes, they can be turned into cards, they can be marketed and branded. Nintendo will publish that game on the Switch and everyone will say, oh, there's a new Pokemon game, and everyone will want to buy the plushes and they'll want to buy the trading card games. And they have to keep doing this so that they can continue doing the cycle, which is how you end up in the situation that we're in now, where we have... Is there, at this point, over 1,000 Pokemon? I don't know yet. There are.
No, I think there's like 1,048.
So there are over 1,000 Pokemon because they have to do this every 2 years. And so that I just wanted to sort of lay that out, this sort of complicated corporate structure that is going on with Pokemon, because I think that this is sort of part of the problem with the Pokemon games, is that they have to keep pumping these things out. It's part of their economic model.
Yeah, I think the sort of timing aspect of it is really important, because it's not just like, you can imagine a world where like they produce a game every 7 years and they just like sell merchandise of that game every 7 years.
Right.
But it's also like the trading cards are on a cycle. They need a new like set of trading cards every, Yvonne, you would know, but it's like every 4 or 6 months or something.
Yes.
And so the trading cards are dependent on new ideas, new designs being introduced so they can stay fresh.
Right.
You know, a trading card company that doesn't produce any new creatures for 7 years is dead in the water. You know, Magic the Gathering does it, 100 times a year or whatever these days. You know?
Yeah.
And the same is true with like the competitive Pokemon environment. Like, if you want people to stay involved in competitive Pokemon, you need to keep the game relatively fresh. You can't have it be exactly the same for 7 years, or else it'll get out of your control. People will move on to other things. I think there's like many layers of like everything needs to be new and culturally relevant all of the time. And video games are kind of just the longest cycle that these go through. And so they're just being squished down into really impossible deadlines.
Yeah. I think also the trading card game thing is like, I think that has had an effect on the way that they design the games themselves, because ever since Pokemon X and Y, they have every new generation, they have also introduced a sort of new type of like a new type of thing that the Pokemon do. Like in X and Y, it was Mega Evolution. Sun and Moon, it was Z moves. In Sword and Shield, it's Gigantamax. In Scarlet and Violet, it is terrestrializing, I think, Pokemon. But all of these things, it's like you can also make new cards out of all of these old Pokemon if you include that type of thing. So I think they sort of have to do something like that each time as well, so that they can keep making new sets for the trading cards. And I can't guarantee that that's why they do it, but I feel like it must have some sort of effect, you know?
It does come in handy.
Yeah, this sort of like, I think it's interesting to contrast to Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest faces a lot of the same problems that Pokemon does, where it's an extremely old franchise. There's like a core model of like how the game is structured and how the combat functions, these things that like people have come to expect. So it's difficult to innovate and try new things that will make it feel fresh but not too different. Pokemon solved this problem by like introducing kind of a new gimmick. They made the last games open world, and then also they've been doing like spin-off games, one of which is Legend Arceus, which I think is like the most effective sort of new model of what a Pokemon game could look like. Dragon Quest's solution to this is like, we're just gonna take 8 years between the games that we make.
Good for them.
And we're just gonna like do an enormous amount of design work to make them still basically the same, but like have the writing and the characters be so strong, and like introduce very subtle but important mechanics that will like make it feel new. And Pokemon, that's not available to Pokemon. Like the sort of refined design that Dragon Quest can do is not possible. So within their time frame. So like there is this incentive to come up with really marketable, interesting, new mechanical designs. But there is very little incentive to make them like really refined. Good, if I wanted to be a little mean. Which is not to say that none of the gimmicks are good, because like some of them are. Like
I like Mega Evolution.
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of affection for them.
Yeah, and
but it's also true that
Yvonne likes the regional variants.
I do really adore.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite, the sort of new gen Pokemon mechanics that they've introduced.
I totally agree. I think the regional variants are really cool.
Yeah.
But it's clear like they're iterating on top of the formula. Like there's not room for like consideration of like, how do we make the story good? Like questions like that like really require time are sort of like just not on the table, I think.
That's one of those things that they've just sort of failed to answer for decades now. Is like, how do we make a compelling narrative that we attach to this thing? It's like they sort of don't. I mean, they've tried a couple times and to greater or lesser success, but
I think basically every time they try, it's pretty widely panned. Like Sun and Moon has this problem. They try really hard to like have a story, but then the story isn't good, so it just is annoying and it just takes up too much of your time.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well then we won't do that. And neither of those are a good answer.
They kind of seem to approach like story and narrative the same way they do the Pokemon themselves, in that they have gotten pretty good at like character writing and like making individual personalities and designs. But putting them all together to make a larger story is basically a waste of time. Because they're all it just falls flat. But like in the individual conversations, and I found this in Pokemon like Legends ZA, I liked a lot of the characters interpersonally, but then it comes go time and to do something related to the story, and it's like, well, this is all my immersion is thrashed. It's all gone.
I think this is one of the greatest strengths of Legend Arceus, is that it very much feels like, not that the story is great, but it feels like there's a lot of attention paid to the setting and the feeling that you have in that game. It feels very coherent. Like there is a refined purpose of like what we are trying to do here that is really absent.
Yeah, I feel like Arceus it's one of the first and only Pokemon games to have like a really considered world, you know, which I really like about it.
The conceit of Arceus is, if you haven't played it, is that you're sort of in medieval Japan before Pokemon have been like tamed. And so there's all sorts of ways that this is implemented. Like mechanically, it feels much more scrappy. Like Pokemon can hurt you, the player. You have to run around them and you have to like throw balls. It feels very dangerous. It's sort of semi-open world where there's like different regions that you can explore, and that adds to the feeling of like kind of empty wilderness. That's really effective. All of the like clothing design supports this really well. It feels like it takes place in the same region that Generation 4 did, Sinnoh, which is based on Hokkaido. So they have sort of warmer clothing, but like in an older style. The way that the houses are built, the way that people speak, even things like how do you store the Pokemon is in a pasture, and you can see them walking around.
So cute.
It feels like there's time and consideration given to like who is the player in this world, how do they interact with people, what are their opinions about the environment and the creatures that surround them. And that's like I think the main reason why it's so effective.
Did you have any thoughts about ZA?
I have not played ZA. I did not purchase it because I think it looks bad.
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah,
you
Yvonne,
thought
what
right.
do you think?
I don't know. I think it's fascinating. They managed to after 30 years of doing the same system, they managed to somehow make it worse. I think a lot of people, a lot of people are like, oh, we need to change the battling system from generic, one turn go, that kind of thing. And to an extent, I agree. I think Legends Arceus does a great job at, sort of doing that with the strong style and the agile style. The battling in Legends ZA is the only thing you can do in the game, it seems. And after the initial 5-hour tutorial gets over and you get into the meat of the game and you're doing battling, it's really it's somehow just as uninvolved as the turn-based battling. There's not much depth to it. You're kind of mashing attacks. You're repositioning yourself a little bit, but I didn't ever find at any point that I was really engaged with the battling system, because I was just kind of rolling over all of the trainers in the same manner I would in the base games. So
I was just gonna say, there's a couple of interesting things that I think they do. I don't dislike.
I like the
CA.
rogue megas.
Yeah,
I think the rogue
cool.
megas are the best part of that. I think those little boss battles where you're not just fighting a trainer, that's where Legends ZA hits its peak. But those are also, they're only 5 minutes, and getting there is much of the same for every single rogue mega. I don't know. It's just it seems like a real backslide from Legends Arceus.
I think that there's a couple things that you can do in the battle system in ZA that I think is interesting. You can dodge attacks by repositioning your guys, which I think is cool, and it's not very easy to do, but one way you can do it is if you see somebody's about to use a move, you can swap out your Pokemon to dodge the attack and then throw them back out, or recall your Pokemon and throw them back out, which I think is really fun. This sort of metagaming around trainer battles where you can just be nope, come back. You're not getting hit by that, and then I'm going to send you back out. I think that sort of thing is really fun. That's sort of demystifying the turn-based combat in that way. But yeah, it's not very polished.
They should have slapped an ATB on there and called it a day.
Yeah.
And
can you imagine the ATB system for Pokemon? That would suck so bad.
I think there's this attitude that I hear sometimes that it sort of feels is present in the Pokemon developers' mind, that turn-based battles are too slow, which I think is basically just bullshit. I think the way that they do it in Legends Arceus, where you're in the world and the world is dangerous, and so you get to feel that sort of fear and excitement. But then when you enter the battle, once you're there, you're okay. You just need to think carefully and make the right decisions. And there's little tweaks that they do. In that game, basically all of the moves are significantly stronger. So battles are much shorter. And turn order becomes really important with how you manipulate the way that you do your moves. I think that's a great way to sort of push that idea of stakes. And it feels a little bit with ZA they feel like they have to make it real time, and I don't know why they think that. And that, I think, just on principle, that bothers me.
Yeah, you mentioned very briefly the agile style and power style stuff in Arceus, both of you. But to be clear, what it is like you can set, when you use a move in Pokemon, the way that all the turn-based battle systems work is you have 4 moves and you select one of them. And depending on your speed stat, you either go first or the enemy goes first. Pokemon Legends Arceus introduces the agile style or the strong style moves. And so you can have a Pokemon do a strong style move, which is more powerful, but it's slower. And so it'll change the turn order to suffice. Maybe it gives the enemy the opportunity to do 2 moves in a row or something like that. Or you can do an agile style move, which is less strong, but you can, maybe you can get 2 moves in a row and that sort of thing. And I love when RPGs mess with the turn order in that way. I think that shit is really good. And it's one of those things that's like easily the strongest addition to the Pokemon battle system since its conception. And then they didn't use it again.
It definitely needs refinement. Like, I think, like, it doesn't always feel great. There's this very weird feeling because it's actually 3 options. Like, you can either do it normal without any setting, or
Right.
you can do it agile, or you can do it strong. Having the 3 feels really little like too many options, because instead of making it 8 different move options, it's 12.
Yeah.
Which is just like a little too many, but I think those are the kind of design decisions that like can absolutely be iterated on and improved over time. Part of my like hostility towards ZA is because of that. I think they've given up on like the things that were most interesting to me about Legends Arceus, including like the environment. Like the reason I didn't buy it is because like every trailer and screenshot of ZA looked kind of the same to me.
It's because the game kind of looks the same top to bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't look nice to be in. It's not a space that feels like explorable.
Yeah, that's the problem with making the game take place all in one city. It's a cool concept, but then you're kind of looking at a lot of the same assets over and over again. You're kind of in a lot of samey environments.
I think you can make it in a city, and then if you make different parts of the city look different,
right,
then that's
they just
good.
didn't do that.
But if you don't do that, then
yeah, it doesn't. To me, it didn't even feel so much like a city as much as it felt like kind of an obstacle course with a city coat of paint. Like, ultimately, the gameplay loop is you like running. Like, you have the Rotom phone, which lets you like do pseudo parkour whatevers. But you're kind of rolling and jumping around. You're like a stunted Mario a little bit. There's not like a shop that you can go into in the city that is like more than a menu. And that's something that they've been doing for a while and has sucked every single time.
Yeah, there's no building interiors, or there's very few of them.
The restaurants that they've done they're cool. I say that they're cool because they exist. They're like the bare minimum, but it's nice that they're there, I guess. But otherwise, like, you're just kind of walking through these flat open roads, really polygonal buildings. It leaves a bit to be desired for like Kalos' biggest city.
Especially after Legends Arceus, where you can go inside all of these buildings, and it feels, and the buildings being like sort of old wooden Japanese buildings are like really interesting to walk around and see the architecture of. You get a lot of insight into how people live, how they decorate their homes, with the roles that Pokemon play in them. It also just makes you feel like you're in a real small town. And that I think is just the kind of thing that like takes time. We've been talking a lot of shit about Pokemon. I do, just like really quick, maybe what do you think needs to change? Number one, like what does Pokemon need to succeed in your estimation?
Time. I really do think that's part of the big equation here, is that they get so little time to make these games. I think that a lot of these problems that we're talking about with Pokemon is a symptom of being forced to pump these games out every couple of years on the timetable that they have, which is like not very good for them. They don't have time to like create, like, I don't know, it's a big complaint that people have all the time about Pokemon is like, oh, look, the tree looks like shit. All the city is just retextured. It's like just walls that are textured like city stuff or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. And it's like, to an extent, I find that kind of complaint really like stupid because it's like, I don't really care about that sort of thing, but it's a symptom of them not having time to polish that stuff out, you know? And I like to, you know, I like to be a sort of generous person when it comes to like, you know, complaining about, like, I think everyone who's like, oh, the game devs are so lazy. It's like, you're a stupid person. Like, it's that's not really what the situation is. You like obviously they're all very passionate people who care about Pokemon and care about the game that they're making. Like, everybody cares about the thing that they do.
I think like the idea of like anyone in game development would be thrilled to work on Pokemon. Like, it's great. Like, everyone loves it. And I think like the idea that they can't get the best and brightest is like ridiculous. And it's like you see these great ideas that just cannot come to fruition. And it feels like, I don't know, if you've ever had a job before in your life, like you kind of can tell what's going on.
I feel like also, in addition to it being like, you know, obviously it needs more time, but it's kind of on the Call of Duty, Madden, and 2K cycle at this point.
That's very wise.
Yeah, like it's kind of occupied that kind of space in my mind of like, oh, another Pokemon game. Well, Christmas again.
Another Assassin's Creed game.
Yep. But I think that if it could possibly divest itself from that, like, not even just the time, but like the merchandise and the non-game aspects of Pokemon, like the anime and the cards and the plush dolls that I love so dearly. Being able to look inside itself and see what has worked and what they've enjoyed and what doesn't, and then like put that into one game and like sort of revisit a lot of old aspects of it. I think that could like, because that's been the thing for me, is that I feel like since Gen 6 they've left a lot of stuff by the wayside. And in some parts this is a good thing, because they've, you know, they did Mega Evolution. I didn't initially like Mega Evolution, but I came around on it as a concept. They went to Z moves and the regional forms, and they did away with the Megas, but they came into something else really cool with the regional forms. And, you know, in a perfect world, we would see Gen 8 be like, okay, well, we've got the regional forms, we've got the Mega Evolutions, maybe let's incorporate the two of them. And, you know, you just look at what was successful, what people really latched onto, and what could be, I don't know, what could all work together in the formula to make like a real, like a culmination type Pokemon game.
They should do that, and corporate should give them enough time and money. Let's do something fun, and then we'll talk about Lazarus.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a mini game. You can play along at home, and then we're going to talk about Lazarus after. The mini game is called Who's That Category of Pokemon? So this used to be called a species. Like, for example, Pikachu is the electric mouse Pokemon. Most of them are unique, but some of them are shared between evolution lines or like similar Pokemon. Like, there's a bunch of tiny bird Pokemon. Here's how the minigame works. I will state a Pokemon and its category, and you will tell me true or false, because I may be lying. So,
okay.
Let's do a practice round.
Yeah.
I say Pikachu is the disgusting little rat Pokemon, and you say
false.
False.
Awesome. Okay.
I think that's probably, well, yeah, false.
He's not disgusting.
I said it earlier. He's the electric mouse Pokemon.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him disgusting.
And I say, and then points will be scored. Kerry and Yvonne, whichever one of you scores the most points, I will name my firstborn child after you.
Really?
Okay.
You, the listener, are welcome to play along at home. If you score better than Kerry or Yvonne, I will name my firstborn child after myself. Kerry and Yvonne, I will show you an image of the Pokemon. If you're playing along at home, you can Google it, but if you get spoiled, don't cheat. I'll know. It's 1 point if you get it right and 0 points if you get it wrong.
Gotcha.
Question 1. True or false? Inteleon is the James Bond Pokemon.
That's false.
That's false.
Correct. False.
I got worried for a second.
False. Inteleon is the secret agent Pokemon. So that's a point for both of you.
Okay.
Honchkrow is the murder Pokemon.
Ooh.
I think that's false.
True.
False.
Damn.
Honchkrow is the big boss Pokemon. He's the big
that's the boss. That's my boss there.
That's the big boss.
That's boss man.
Vullaby. True or false? Vullaby is the diapered Pokemon.
True.
I don't think that's true. I think it's false.
True.
Let's
Vullaby
go.
is the diapered Pokemon.
I mean, look at him.
Okay.
I should have known. You never have.
He is
three of the
wearing
same
a
answer
diaper
in
that's
multiple
neck.
choice in a row.
I want to tell you this. I did a coin flip simulator on Google, so they are truly random.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your honesty and commitment to being, to interpreting
I'm not
and
using
whatnot.
karmic dice. This is the real deal. True or false? Cramorant is the cormorant Pokemon.
False.
Cramorant is the cormorant Pokemon.
False. I think that's the gulper.
False. Cramorant is the gulp Pokemon.
That's what I fucking thought, baby.
Yeah.
Cramorant is
Nice.
the throat goat.
I know a gulper when I see one.
The Kim Petras Pokemon. True or false? Varoom is the petroleum Pokemon.
Can I tell you something? I've never seen this creature before in my entire life.
This is why I pulled up the images, because I think this one specifically you would not know.
What was
I think
the
it's-
category again? Petroleum Pokemon?
Varoom is the petroleum Pokemon.
I think that's false.
I think it. Yeah, I think it's false as well.
False. Varoom is the single-cylinder Pokemon.
Of course,
It's so
naturally.
funny. I'm thinking about Vullaby now, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, what's it? The diapered Pokemon." And you're like, "Oh, it's Vullaby."
Oh, it's Vullaby.
Duh.
The little guy with the diaper. Okay. True or false? Revavroom is the petroleum Pokemon.
Fuck, man.
For those listening at home, this is sort of like it's clearly the evolution of the first one. It kind of looks like a car, but like fucked up.
I'm gonna go true.
I'm gonna go false.
The answer is false. Revavroom is the multi-cylinder Pokemon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
That's so
Kerry.
sick.
True or false? Persian is the bad boss Pokemon.
That's false. That's false.
That's false.
It is false, correct. Persian is the classy cat Pokemon.
Yes.
True or false? Bidoof is the foolish Pokemon.
That's so
Well, not
mean.
all of them.
True.
That's so mean. True. I think it's false.
Is that your guess? Okay. The answer is false. Bidoof is the plump mouse Pokemon.
Oh.
They couldn't
Okay.
even call him a beaver.
He's plump mouse.
True or false? Lucario is the aura Pokemon.
True.
That is true.
I knew that one.
How do you guys know that was true?
I feel like
Well,
I've read
look at
that
him.
before. He has
Okay.
aura, for real.
Yeah,
He
clearly.
does have crazy aura.
Yeah.
Hype moments and aura.
Okay.
That's him.
All right. We're looking at Young Goose. True or false? Young Goose is the teen Pokemon.
I think this is true, actually.
True.
The answer is false. Young
nice.
Goose is the loitering Pokemon.
Wait, that's way better. That's so good.
He's the loitering Pokemon.
You
He
find
loves
these
to
guys
loiter.
outside gas stations.
We're looking at Togedemaru. Togedemaru is the new electric mouse Pokemon. He's the new electric mouse Pokemon.
I think that's false. I think he is the steel mouse Pokemon.
False. They wouldn't call him the new electric mouse Pokemon. Even though that's what
false. Togedemaru is the roly-poly Pokemon.
Oh, that's so cute. He really is.
It's really cute.
I think that
He's
he's
really
sort of the
rolling in.
plump mouse Pokemon.
That's true.
That's accurate.
We're looking at Gyarados. Gyarados is the atrocious Pokemon.
What the fuck, man? False.
True.
The answer is true.
What?
Gyarados is the atrocious Pokemon.
That's so fucked up. That's so
That
mean.
really tickled me. Okay, this is the last one for all the marbles. What is the point count?
I'm at 7.
I have 1, 2, 3, 10.
You have 10?
I'm about to have 11.
All right, last question. Oddish. True or false? Oddish is the weed Pokemon.
True.
True. That's the weed.
The answer
Pokemon
is
right
true.
there.
Oddish is the weed Pokemon.
Oddish and Lucario are the only 2 on that list that I actually knew. I was like 100% on those 2. I don't know why we both knew that Lucario was the Aura Pokemon.
That is really funny. Okay, so final point counts.
I've got 8.
And I have 11.
Here is 8. A reminder, whoever wins, I will name my firstborn child after you.
Congratulations, baby Yvonne.
I'm
Oh,
looking
okay.
forward
Well,
to meeting
let's
her.
not get carried away. I'm looking at my point count. I actually got all of them right.
Uh-oh.
I actually got every single one right. So I will be naming my firstborn child after myself.
Oh, okay.
That's just a funny joke.
Did you happen to account for what if we had tied?
No.
Okay, great.
Oh, that would be great if we all got them all correct.
You would have been forced to carry triplets.
They would have reverse C-sectioned me.
That's way funnier. The idea of having one child that is named after 3 people that for some reason, because of this event, she would have had triplets. Oh, that's really funny.
Arceus blessed me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a little break.
Yeah, let's take 5.
Let's take 5 and then reconvene, and we'll talk about Pokemon Lazarus.
That was really fun. That was a fun game.
Awesome. Okay, do you want to get back?
Yeah, I wanna get into another Wikipedia corner now that we're back. This is my second
such a
Wikipedia
great
corner, my
idea.
second and final Wikipedia corner of the day.
Let's all stand in the corner together.
Is everyone get together, get your candles and your
you know
bells.
that meme that's like they don't know I'm blank.
Yeah.
But the guy is in a corner, so then he could be like, they don't know I'm in the Wikipedia corner.
And everyone knows he's in the Wikipedia corner.
Everyone's like, yeah, we can see that you're in a corner.
He's wearing a
Bro, you have like 500 edits. Of course. Wikipedia
Yeah, so this is my Wikipedia quarter. This one is about something that comes up a lot in Pokemon Lazarus, sort of the title of the game, the Lazarus Taxa or Lazarus Taxon. Because in one of the first lines, like this is a recurring theme that's going to come up a lot in Pokemon Lazarus. I figure it's a good way to start the conversation. In one of the first lines of the game, the professor in this game,
Ilia.
they reveal themselves to be a professor of paleontology and references that fossil Pokemon that are found in the wild are known as Lazarus Taxa, which is, he says, Latin for back from the dead. This is a real phrase that I had never heard of before playing Pokemon Lazarus, but this is a real thing, and I was really happy to learn about this from this game because I think it's a really fascinating idea. But a Lazarus taxon is what we call a species of animals who has disappeared from the fossil record or otherwise considered extinct, only for them to appear again later on in history, either in later fossil records or as a living species. Generally speaking, like not Pokemon, but well, yes, Pokemon in this situation, but animals that were considered to be extinct and then were found later on in our timeline, whether as a fossil record or as a creature bouncing around. So a good example of this is from the Wikipedia page, is the Takahi. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong, but it's a flightless bird from New Zealand who was believed to be extinct in 1898, but was discovered 50 years later in 1948. These guys are really cool. They're like chickens, like chicken-looking fellas, like black chickens with bits of that. You know how birds have like that iridescent green on their black feathers and stuff? These guys are like chickens that sort of have that. Very beautiful. They have big red beaks. Very cool bird. Another rather famous example is the coelacanth, which is a species of lobe-finned fish, which was thought to have gone extinct 66 million years ago in the late Cretaceous period, but then was discovered alive off of the coast of South Africa in 1938. There's a Pokemon based off of this guy. This is the Pokemon Relicanth, is based off of the coelacanth. You may also know him from Animal Crossing, which is my first interaction with the coelacanth.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Unrelatedly, I'll put this in the show notes because I think it's cool, but I'm also going to send a little image here that I found on the Wikipedia page. This is a image that you're looking at right now.
Whoa.
Hopefully. This is a diagram of the coelacanth. It's the largest known Jurassic Cretaceous era freshwater coelacanth that is on this Wikipedia page. It shows that it's a diagram that just shows that this fish is like 6 times the size of a human. And like it has
it's like bigger than a car.
Yeah, exactly. It shows like a 1 meter mark, which covers basically just the creature's head. So you could estimate that this thing is like 6-ish meters long. It's really crazy looking. I kind of get scared looking at this picture, even though it's like a diagram. I don't know. Something about it is very intimidating to me. It makes me nervous. But anyway, Lazarus taxon, it's something I find really interesting. This idea that a species will, for one reason or another, disappear and largely be considered extinct, only to just one day pop back up, sometimes millions of years later. Because this is something that like Pokemon has always been sort of interested in the background in. Like ancient Pokemon, fossil Pokemon, eventually legendary Pokemon, which have all been considered extinct or disappeared otherwise, now suddenly reappearing or being brought back from the dead. What's that all about? It's a theme that like reoccurs in a lot of Pokemon, but kind of goes unaddressed in most games, especially like restoring fossils to life in each game is the beginning. But lots of legendary Pokemon stories are about like extremely rare Pokemon who have been hidden. And there's stuff like all the Paradox Pokemon in Scarlet Violet. And I think this is like a sort of a really interesting question that we're going to return to a lot, which becomes a lot more relevant in this game because this game has a much more sincere interest in like academia and research and pedagogy, which is something that like the mainline Pokemon series never really gets into. It's like, you know, in the mainline Pokemon series, you're always like being told by a professor that you're doing research, but you're not really doing research for the most part, you know what I mean? But it seems like everybody you interact with in Pokemon Lazarus is doing research. There's like university students all over the place, and you're like actually working for a university as a research student. Yeah. But yeah, that's my short spiel about Lazarus taxa. It's apparently something that happens a lot with mass extinction events, that there are like species who are believed to be extinct, but then are found just later on.
Wow, that's really cool. I had no idea that was real.
Yeah, it's something that they talk about a lot in this game, and it made me Google it. Yeah. And I was really happy to learn about it through this game, because this game has a really sincere interest in stuff like this, in like biology and wildlife preservation. Yeah. And I find that really fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about, before we talk about Lazarus specifically, like our backgrounds with Romhacks and like what we played, what do we think about them?
I think they're sick. I haven't played a lot of Romhacks really, and the ones that like the first ones I've ever done were like randomizer stuff when I was young. But since then, I've tried a couple things. I know Yvonne has tried a couple of them as well. I've tried like I'm interested in trying Pokemon Unbound, which is like another like regional total conversion ROM hack. And I've also tried Pokemon Renegade Platinum. It's like a sort of difficulty hack for Pokemon Platinum. It mostly is like has a bunch of quality of life stuff and whatnot. I don't have like a whole lot of experience with ROM hacking, but I find it fascinating, like structurally, as like this community of like modders who are like really into this one generation of games and have like whittled away at it such that they have turned it into functionally their own game engine.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I feel like I've played recently because of Pokemon Lazarus. I've played quite a few ROM hacks. My first experiences with them were mostly just like the general quality of life and to a certain extent difficulty hacks. The Blaze Blacks, Volt White, Renegade Platinum.
You played Radical Red.
I believe I do currently have Radical Red is a sort of like a different beast than the two, because those are Blaze Black and Renegade Platinum, and I want to say whatever the hack originally was of Heart and Gold and Soul Silver that I'm forgetting like this specific name of. I want to say those are like relatively older hacks. We're kind of, I don't know what the point is, but my rudimentary knowledge of Romhacks tells me that like there came a certain point in ROM hacking, particularly for the Game Boy Advance games, like the past 5 years, that really busted open the possibilities. Like you'll notice a lot of the most popular ROM hacks are based off of Game Boy Advance games, just like Pokemon Lazarus is based off of Emerald. But like the ones we've played, the DS hack ROMs don't have as many options for editing them. And the Game Boy Advance option, or Game Boy Advance games, were similar to that. So they would just be like general quality of life kind of things. So that was my background. And then now that I played Lazarus, I've really kind of delved into the new regions. So I have a run of Pokemon Odyssey. Radical Red isn't necessarily a new region, but I've got Pokemon Lazarus going. I think there was a third that I clearly didn't care for that much, since I can't remember the name of it.
Damn, fuck that game.
But yeah, whatever game it is. But yeah, I feel like recently I've gotten a lot like more of a well-rounded approach to ROM hacking, with Radical Red being, I don't know if I do have a Radical Red run, but I don't really know how I feel about those super high difficulty hacks. I don't think I'm down to sweat for Pokemon, but maybe I will one day.
Yeah, I feel like the ones that I have done, I think the last time I played Emerald used a very light kind of quality of life hack. I played a fair amount of Pokemon Unbound, which I think came out in 2024, and similarly to Lazarus, like is a total conversion, like new region, everything like you said. I didn't really care for it. I think it looks, and this is not, I'm so glad that it exists and it's awesome, but it doesn't look very good in my opinion. And I think a lot of total conversion hacks suffer from this. Like there's an enormous number of art assets that need to be made, and you're competing with people's conception of the third generation, which are outrageously beautiful games. So it's a really high bar. I think it's very telling that Lazarus looks very good, and the last hack that this person made was not only, but I think primarily, at least is how people thought about it, like a visual hack, to make it look sort of different and beautiful in a new way. Yeah, I think for many years, like the scope of ROM hacking has increased, where we've been using terms like difficulty hack and quality of life and total conversion, and like those represent like different sort of levels of change. It's obviously very difficult to make big changes when you don't have control over all of the levers. Mm-hmm. So I think like because of technical limitations, like for a long time difficulty was something you could adjust. Quality of life is maybe a bit harder. Total conversion is like as hard as it gets mostly. So like the sort of community that ROM hacking attracts, and the intent of those hacks is directed by like the technical possibilities, which I think is interesting. And I think like especially recently, the last few years, like you were saying, so much work has been done to open those doors that like different people with different intents have been able to like do different things. Yeah. I think it's like Lazarus and Unbound both feel very novel. And I think Lazarus is more successful, but they both, and Odyssey as well, is like you mentioned, Yvonne, is a really great, even more different. Yeah. I think like we are seeing something new happen that's like really exciting.
I think it is important to like consider, like you said, that before they were able to do Lazarus, Nemo and the team of people that they work with also made Emerald Seaglass, which is, like you said, people largely consider it like a visual hack. And it's like that really clearly does like lay a lot of the groundwork for what Lazarus is doing, because it establishes so many of the assets that they're going to be using for Lazarus, right? Like they create basically the entirety of Pokemon Emerald from the ground up in a new art style, while also including like a lot of other Pokemon and stuff like that. But I think that Lazarus doesn't happen like without that?
I think you can see pretty directly like how like the visual style has grown between the two games. Like I am honestly not a huge fan of the way that Emerald Seaglass looks. I think it's like a little too Generation 2 Pokemon Crystal for my taste. But I think like you can really see the drawing ability or pixel art ability of Nemo increasing, like the sort of selection of color, all those things. There's an interview that they did where they say like, and this was last year before Lazarus came out, an interview about Emerald Seaglass, where they said, quote, "I do not consider myself a pixel artist. I can try, but not to the quality that I want the game to be. I reached out to a lot of artists to see if I could use their art in the game. It would not be possible without other people." So I think like probably what's happened in the intervening year is like they've gotten a lot better at designing their own artwork and a clearer vision for like the things that they need to select, more options. It looks really good, and it's very cool to see someone grow in such a obvious way. Yvonne, I know you played a lot of Emerald Seaglass. What was it sort of doing outside of the visual stuff?
It's kind of difficult to put my finger on one specific thing that like made it so much more enjoyable than other Emerald hacks. I think the visual changes take it a long way. It makes my brain, just by looking at it, it makes my brain feel like I'm playing something new and something different, which has certainly held my interest. But I think that it's a combination of the Pokemon variety in the first, the first three generations of Pokemon that are available in the Pokemon variety are available in the roots, and then like the slight tweaks to the game that make it feel fresh. So the wishing well being in Rustboro City is a huge one. I think the cheat codes that quote unquote cheat codes that they're available to you at the beginning really can make the game feel fresh each time you want to play it. But well, truthfully, I think this isn't anything particular to Pokemon Lazarus or Pokemon Emerald Seaglass or anything, but I think the raised shiny odds and the tendency for me to have found a shiny at least one on each playthrough is like the perfect ratio to make me go oh, and then want to play like beat the game with that person on my team, Yeah. This happened recently. Before Pokemon Lazarus came out, I was sitting with Kerry in our favorite diner, and I was explaining to her like, hey, on this the route near Slateport, you can get Chikorita, and I really like Chikorita, so I was like, maybe I can go catch one right now, and I'm holding out my phone for her to look at, and a Chikorita is there, and it's shiny, and I made basically the exact noise that I just made for you both in the middle of this restaurant. But at that point, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll start an Emerald Seaglass run just to see, what happens. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, well, now me and my Chikorita Johnny, we're gonna go be the champions together. But yeah, it's really just some of its parts feeling like it has such a good base in the Hoenn region already that those little bits and pieces kind of pushed over the edge to make it preferred over any of the other the vanilla experience and the other quality of life hacks I've played or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common opinion that like Pokemon Emerald, which is the Hoenn region, is like one of the best games.
Right.
The best designed regions. It's doing a lot. And I think like there are a couple sort of a little bit dated design decisions that get addressed later in the franchise that like bringing back to Emerald has a big impact on like how enjoyable the game is. Because its foundations are so solid. And so I think that's, one of the reasons that like Emerald sees so much work in the Romhack scene.
Do you guys want to share our teams?
Oh my god,
Oh,
yeah.
for Pokemon Lazarus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I just opened Pokemon Lazarus, and I've got some boys I'm quite fond of.
Yeah.
I actually I started immediately after beating Pokemon Lazarus. I started a new game. So I'll have to go to my Blue Sky profile to see my Elite Four team.
So I have
I've got it pulled up.
I have my main 6 Pokemon, but here's the thing about me. About the way I played these games. And this has like always been the case with Pokemon. This is how I always play the game, and what I like most about it is I catch pretty much if I am seeing a Pokemon and I haven't caught it before, I catch it and I immediately give it a nickname, and every single Pokemon that I own will have a nickname. I think it's childish to not name them because they're your boys.
I agree.
So
you are one of the best Pokemon nickname givers.
I have to be, because they're very important
true.
to me. Here's my final team when I beat the Elite Four. I have a Greninja. When I got her she was a Froakie, and her name was Pigeon. But once she evolved into a Greninja, I named her Final Pigeon. And I really like that. I have a Scizor. His name is Dr. Knifes. Not knives, it's knives with an F. I have a Dragapult. That's the like ghost dragon thing. That's sort of like a stealth bomber. I don't know why, but that's what they've designed this thing on. Dragapult. His name is Paladin Snot. I have a Togekiss. Her name is Cable TV. I like Togekiss quite a bit. My Raichu, her name is DJ Gunhands. It's the Alolan Raichu. She's like riding on her own tail like a little surfer. And I have an Arcanine, the Hisuian Arcanine, the like rock fire type Arcanine, and her name is Halo 2. So that's my team, but I have many others. I have a couple that I'm proud of. I have a Minwar named Siggy Smalls that I really like. I had Minwar on my team for a while. This is the first time I've seen this Pokemon. This is one of my new favorite Pokemon is Minwar. You can get a shiny. There's a shiny egg that you get, like an egg that will always hatch into a shiny halfway through the game. And mine was a Corphish, which I didn't care for. I don't care for Corphish, but I did name this Corphish DJ Corporeal, and I did like that.
Yeah, that's good.
So I have lots of names. I could keep going. I had a Chandelure for a while named Bossman, and he was the boss. He's the boss. He was sort of in charge of our team. I had a Salandit named Huge Gay Guy. Just all sorts of friends.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yvonne, what is your team?
I realized that I don't have the nicknames pulled up right now. So do you want to? Well, that's the thing. I'm just charging my phone. My phone had died. So Tess, do you want to do your team, and then by the time you're done?
I like to give my Pokemon human names. I think it's just really funny. It's always been funny to me, and it remains funny to me. So my lead is a Togekiss whose name is Gladys. I like her a lot.
Love that.
She's a yawn, protect, send him to sleep, protect him, and then throw someone else out.
That's very Gladys of her.
We have Decidueye, who's my starter, who I named Edith. She's great. Like ghost type moves are always great. It's nice to have some flying. You learn Swords Dance very early on in the game, which we'll come back to that because I have opinions about that. But I have a Flareon, whose name is Abraham. He's an awesome guy. I have a Zoroark named Orin, and I got him from a wishing well. This is one of the mechanics that shows up in the game where you get like essentially random Pokemon, like any random level 1 Pokemon that's not legendary.
Yes.
Which I think is fun.
I got some crazy Pokemon from the wishing well. I got a Spiritomb from the wishing well like really early in the game that I named Moneybags.
I have a Komo-o I don't remember the first evolution, but I have a big dragon fighting Komo-o whose name is Eamon. And then a Marowak named Basil. That's my team. I love them a lot.
They're so cute. You have like sort of an old lady name theme going on with some of them.
Yeah.
Like Gladys and Edith.
The idea. I find it very charming because it makes it feel like they're my friends.
Yeah. I also got a type Null, which is a Pokemon I didn't know anything about basically at all until I played this game. Real weird fellow, but her name is Miss Chex-Mix. For a while, I have a couple Pokemon with DJ in their name. I think that's a really funny thing to like have. I don't know, a Pokemon with a title. And so DJ, Doctor, Mrs., Miss, a lot of those come up. But I have a DJ Pedagogic. That's a Victory Bell. It's really fun. Oh, Cookie, you can't walk on my computer. Cookie, okay, hold on. I have to pick up my cat. Cookie, say hi. Okay, she doesn't want to be held.
Hi, Cookie. Can we take a little break? I want to make some more tea.
Oh yeah, sure.
I think when everybody gets back, I do also want to, I want to mention at some point that you both played the game on normal mode and I played it on hard mode because I want to talk about Nemo's hard modes.
You want to prove that you're the most elite gamer.
It's not that. Because I wouldn't even say it was hard. The thing with, like, dude, the fucking Brawly's Heracross and the third gym leader's Mimikyu and both of the Emerald, Seaglass, and Lazarus, respectively, are just so fucking stupid and gay. I hate those guys. They're, like, so unrealistically difficult for the point of the game that they're at, and then the game just, like, becomes easy again afterwards. Ugh.
Yeah, Yvonne, do you want to introduce us to all of your guys?
Yes,
Please.
I will. So my starter that I chose at the beginning of the game was Fennekin.
The best one.
And I nicknamed Fennekin Four Flame. Four Flame is a very big part of a fire starter for me. Every single starter, a fire starter. My first starter was Torchic in Pokemon Ruby. Every single fire starter since I was a child, I have nicknamed Four Flame.
Wow.
I don't know why, but I did. And it's stuck.
Really
so that's
cute.
Four Flame, my Delphox. I was on the train when I caught Kenmore, the Paldean Tauros. I have Dr. Daisy, my Frosmoth. Dr. Daisy was initially Dr. Mario, but then I caught the Snom and named it Dr. Mario and realized its stats were kind of bad. So I caught another one and named it Dr. Luigi. Guess what? Also pretty bad stats. So you can imagine how many I caught before I settled on the one that I named Dr. Daisy. And then Nectarine, the Noctowl. I caught Noctowl pretty early. I was on a food nicknames binge when I caught Noctowl, but I kept Noctowl around. I have Finch, the Mawile. I don't know why I named that one Finch. And I also don't know why I named my final Pokemon Lurantis Scramblies. So, all in all, I've got Delphox, Paldean Tauros, Lurantis, Frosmoth, Noctowl, and Mawile.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
That rocks.
Friends.
There's something so very special about, like, the Pokemon teams you end up with. I feel like in other Monster Collection games, you don't get particularly attached to, like, one creature in particular.
Right.
Or, like, a set of them in particular. Like, I've never felt a real affection for, like, the Persona demons. Like, I just combine them and get rid of them whenever it's convenient.
Yeah.
And I played a little bit of some other ones. Like, I played a little bit of, like, Yokai Watch and Dragon Quest Monsters, probably played the most of. And even Dragon Quest Monsters, where I, like, have a lot of affection for those monsters, like, I don't feel particularly, like, if someone's, like, not great on the team, I'm just going to switch them out for someone else. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the way that Pokemon in particular, like, centers, you have a team that fills up and they all have their little personalities. There's something to it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, sympathetic energy around a Pokemon team. And I don't know exactly how they pull that off, but I think it's something that's really unique about these games. Yeah. Because, and maybe it is, like, I think partly for me it is, like, getting to name them and stuff like that. It's a combination of them, like, both having little names, but also, like, having a lot of utility for each one. I don't know. I feel very attached to all of my guys, and I do kind of feel bad when I put one of them in the computer.
Absolutely.
Like, if there's a guy that's
all
like,
the time I make, like, non-optimal decisions. Yeah.
If there's a guy that's, like, been on my team for a while and I take them off, it's kind of sad. I don't know. Like, that's how I felt about when I put Boastman, the Chandelure, into the computer. I was like, this is so sad. It's so sad, like, replacing him with Halo 2. Yeah. But I wanted to branch out, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah, like, I feel like we all felt a compulsion to, like, share, like, our team, because, like, there's an emotional attachment there. So I'd love to maybe talk about, like, what, before we get too in the weeds, like, what Lazarus is trying to do, how it opens, and, like, yeah, what it's trying to accomplish, and, like, why it exists, or why it tells you that it exists. At the beginning of the game, you are a student at Acrisia University. Yvonne mentioned this earlier. But you are not, like, particularly special. And you're also, it does feel a little different because you're not like a little kid going on a very special Pokemon adventure. The framing is much more like you are a student who needs to learn, and less like I need you to run errands to fill out the Pokedex and beat all the gyms.
Right. You're a university student, which must make you like a young adult.
And that kind of attitude, you were talking about this earlier, Kerry, of like research, biology, conservation is like things that Nemo is really interested in and are supported really well through the game. And I think like from the moment it begins, like those themes are present. But it also is like very faithful to the Gen 3 and like late Gen 2 aesthetic and attitude. Yeah, I feel like my main takeaway from this game is like it is trying to create a new entry in Generation 3. And it's doing it in a way that's like trying to give you satisfaction. There's not a ton of ways that it pushes the envelope, but it's trying to like tell you about the things that it cares about, keep it very constrained, and give you like a really strong fundamental experience. And I think it does an awesome job.
You're right about this sort of game's themes being about like around like biology, conservationism, environmentalism, and that sort of thing. I think that's like pretty explicitly the reason the game exists. I mean, you can find Nemo in the game. I forget exactly where they are, but they're in a city in the game. They're just like in a building, and they're surrounded by the Oricorios, which I think they say is like one of their favorite Pokemon because they said that they like did their thesis on the Hawaiian bird that the Oricorio is based off of or something. And if you talk to them, they tell you like they give you a quest to get all the forms, which I didn't do. I don't know if anyone did that, but they
I did it right away because I wanted to make them happy, which is like so funny. Like I felt a real compulsion to do it because I was like, I'm enjoying this game.
Yeah,
I want to make the creator of this game know that I like it, so I'm gonna do the quest for them in the game because they'll.
That's so funny.
Know that I like their game. You know.
I was just gonna say that like when they give you that quest and if you talk to them, they tell you that they hope that it's got you thinking about biology and wildlife conservation because that's the whole reason they made the game. I think that's really cool. Like it's not entirely complex as like a theme, but it does have a sort of academic interest in like biology. It's not extremely complex. It's just like at the end of the day, it's a Pokemon game, and it's primarily interested in being a good one of those, which I think it succeeds at. But with all the stuff about like Lazarus taxon Pokemon and the wildlife conservation facility, which we'll absolutely get into later, and all these people, so many throughout the game, who seem to be academics with an interest in specific things, it's like very clear that the academia surrounding biology and wildlife is a huge influence on the game. And it's an aspect of Pokemon that I think goes like really dreadfully underdeveloped over the course of the main series games, because academia has like, I think I mentioned this earlier, but it's always been a part of Pokemon. Ever since the very first games, we were recruited by a professor as a research assistant to collect data on wildlife. And they do that every single Pokemon game after that. But nobody in Pokemon is writing their thesis. And nobody in Pokemon is actually doing or discussing any research, except for Legends Arceus, which I think is really cool.
One of the big strengths of that game.
Yeah. But yeah, they have, in Legends Arceus, they have the like Pokedex mechanic where you have to do several tasks to fill out your Pokedex entries for Pokemon. But in most Pokemon games, you're like not doing that sort of thing. But here you're a university student, and university students are everywhere, and all your friends are university students and research assistants. And I just think that's really refreshing to be playing a game that is a Pokemon game, which has like a real perspective and a soul, for lack of a better word. And I don't mean to like, I don't know, we've already talked shit about Pokemon quite a lot, so I'm not going to get into that aspect. But this is like the benefit of having a game that's made by someone with like a coherent vision who has interests outside of like Pokemon for Pokemon's sake and wants to create something for a reason, is that they put a lot of their life into it. And I find that really charming about this game.
There's someone who mentions, I don't seem to have written down, but there's someone who mentions somewhere that like, wow, there's a lot of university students running around here, which was very funny to me because it's like, You never encounter in main Pokemon games someone saying like, "Wow, there's all these talented young trainers running around, and you're one of them."
There's
like it's always
tons
an
of 11
like,
year olds just running around.
Yeah, and I don't know. I found it really nice to like begin in a place where you were non-special, like you're extremely normal, and then like throughout the game you get the classic experience of like you're so good at your Pokemon.
I want to touch on like the sort of the theme of Pokemon Lazarus and how it's like how it's presented and how that is such like it goes a long way in making it feel like it's another game in the Gen 3 series. And by that I mean like the themes of Pokemon Lazarus being like about biological conservation and embracing nature and that sort of thing. They're not hitting you over the head with it, but they are, included bit by bit throughout the game, so you can see that it's a clear influence, like the conservatory and mining for fossils and just the general dialogue of the people that you're talking to. They feel a lot like the themes, the way Game Freak implemented the themes in the earlier generations. So I feel like this is a bit less overt in Gen 1 just because of all the constraints they were working with, and it was their first game, so they were kind of just making like, this is Pokemon. But in Gen 2, I feel like they really kind of came across a theme of like everyday life, like a slice of life style game, like an everyday Japan kind of feeling, and like take it slow, embrace the day-to-day, that kind of thing.
And also like the traditional culture is a big part of Johto.
Yes, it's so like draped in Japan and Japanese history that it's like very obvious like what they're alluding to there. And I feel like there's a similar instance of that in Gen 3, maybe to a lesser extent, with sort of land versus sea. And I think a lot of Americans probably were like, as kids, they were initially kind of confused about the main conflict of the game. Like, Team Agma, well, they want to fill the whole planet with land. And Team Aqua, they want to drown the whole planet. And we're all like, well, I'm 7 years old, and that sounds like, both of those sound like pretty bad ideas. These guys are kind of dumb. But there is context for this. And that context is that in Japan, in certain parts of Japan, and I'm going to be paraphrasing a lot of Tamashi Hiroka's video on Ruby and Sapphire. She did a retrospective on it that is, more complete than anything I could ever say right now. But she went over a lot of how, like, around the period this game was being developed, and for a lot of the game developers, there had been a big, like, history in certain areas of Japan of land reclamation and, like, building outwards into the oceans and filling bays with man-made, like, land parcels to build, farms or some sort of buildings, factories, maybe, whatever. So a lot of, like, there is a big portion of Japanese environmentalist history where they're, out protesting, like, all this filled in land, like, we need to fill this land back in with water. And so that's kind of like the sort of promotion for Ruby and Sapphire is like, we're basing this on the environmentalist concerns with like land reclamation and that sort of thing. But it's not necessarily like overt. It's not telling you exactly why that's the case. It's just, diluting it into the game itself and with how the region looks and how the NPCs speak with you and what, you can actually do in the game and how it looks. So I think that's sort of like gentle influence and gentle sort of implementation of the themes really serves to make it feel like it fits in with those older Pokemon games.
There's this thing that Gen 3 is able to do where, like you said, it is both unsubtle and not beating you over the head with the themes of the game. Like, people speak very directly, like a children's game, like they will say like, we're Team Aqua, we want to flood the world because people are doing bad things to the natural environment and we should save the Pokemon. Like, they say things like that are extremely like, here are the themes of the game. There's no confusion about it. But at the same time, there's not so much time spent on it that it feels like it's saying like, do you get it? Do you get it? And I'm pressing the I get it button. The ways that theme is explored more deeply, though, are like the Pacific Log town. I was trying to remember that. Where it's like, here is a place where like humans and water and land are sort of coexisting and there is connection. I think like all of the islands in Hoenn are there for a reason. Like there's thematic coexistence between like, we can have it both ways. And the way that we're going to demonstrate that is by putting these people in these environments and having them say little comments about like, this is where I do my fishing. This is how I live my life. And that balance, I think, is perfectly replicated in Lazarus with a different theme. The things people say to you are pretty direct. Like when the villain appears, she tells you exactly what she believes and what her plan is. She says, quote, "I've always focused on the financial side of the world, the value of raw materials, services, even Pokemon. Everything can be bought and sold for the right price. Lazarus Taxa, the rare Pokemon once thought extinct, are the ultimate financial opportunity. Can't you see? If we simply rounded them all up and sold them to the highest bidder, we could have more money than all other regions combined. That's the kind of like tone that sometimes comes out. But it's doing both that to some extent, but it's also like giving smaller characters just like little flavorful dialogue about the same theme. So like in Acrisia, there's a woman who says, and Acrisia is an old mining town. There's an abandoned minecart track that runs through it. And an old woman says, "Oh ho ho, our family has been here since before the university. I remember watching the minecarts whiz by when I was a girl. Now the city is so much smaller. That's just how things go, I suppose." Which is like, here's a perspective of someone who's just living in the world, living her life. And it relates to the themes of the game, but it's not treating you like you're stupid.
Yes.
Which I think is like really, really effective writing. I was so impressed by the writing in this game. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that like what you were both getting at, the like idea that, you know, it can be subtle and unsubtle at the same time, is like getting down to the brass tacks of what part of what this game is trying to do, which is like, it's just trying to do Pokemon, you know? It's like something really unique about this in comparison to a lot of the other ROM hacks in this sort of type, especially like total conversion ROM hacks, is that it's just trying to make a Pokemon game. It's like, it doesn't have really grander ambitions beyond that. It's like, it kind of wants to make a game the way that Nintendo would have made a game, which is like, it's polished, but it's simple. And it works great. And, you know, you're like, it's just a Pokemon game. It's like it's clearly something that comes with a bunch of experience, but it's still just the thing that it is. Like a guy will ride up to you on a bike and he'll be like, "It's time to work up a sweat." And then you're fighting, you know? And then
he throws out an electric or a bird type Pokemon.
Yeah. And I throw out Mr. Knifes, and Mr. Knifes turns into Mega Mr. Knifes. And then he loses and he goes, "Oh, my wheel is stuck." Like that's Pokemon, you know? And that sort of thing happens all the time. And it's like, they've like nailed the tone here in that sense. It's just like, sort of just like this very simple dialogue that sometimes like, you know, it's not always subtle, but it's also like, it's just like you're living in the Pokemon world where people, you know, start fights with you and say stuff like, "Oh, you better watch out." And that's like that's the extent of the person that they are.
Yeah, like the core fantasy of the Pokemon games is like you're living in a world with Pokemon in it.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole conceit. And Pokemon are really cool, so that's awesome. And I think like the more it does to convince you that it is like a normal world, a normal society with real people in it, the more effective it is.
I think with like ROM hacks, what I'm really getting at it is like there's sort of an attitude with ROM hacks, and I don't think that this is a bad thing, but there's an attitude with ROM hacks that's like, oh, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company and Game Freak, they like don't take Pokemon seriously, so we the fans have to do it for them. And this is a big thing for a lot of Nintendo games, right? Like you see this with like Smash, for example. Like Nintendo won't take Smash seriously, so we, the community, have to do it for them. And I think that's good. Like I think you gain a lot by taking a much more like serious and critical hand towards a thing that is essentially, at the end of it all, is sort of just a toy to play with. And that's like, I don't know, that's why I like a lot of what I like. This is why I like Gundam and why I like Star Wars and stuff like that, is there are people who are like critically interested and invested in this thing that is ultimately not that serious. And like Smash, for example, is like, I like Smash for a long time. Like Smash is sort of a party game that was so obviously intended to be a party game, but had a community around it that has like stripped down some of its mechanics and rule sets and made it for a community and turned it alchemy like into a sort of fighting game for some people. And by doing that, you get something really like additive and transformative. So like I like that these ROM hacks like Radical Red exists, that and Unbound and stuff that like have these more sort of serious takes on Pokemon. But what they don't capture is like the simplicity of what Pokemon is, which I think is what Lazarus is really good at getting. It's like, it's not too serious. It's not really a challenge. You're going to walk around the country and you're going to meet all sorts of critters and you're going to give them funny names and you're going to talk to some guy with dialogue who's like, "I like birds because they can fly." You know, I like ground type Pokemon. They really shake things up, you know, like they'll say, I don't know, all sorts of stuff like that. And you'll get something like gym badges, and you'll beat the bad guys, because the bad guys hate wildlife conservation, and they love money, you know? And it doesn't have to be more complex.
And they say that.
And they say that. They say that to you. They'll say, I love money, and I hate that we're trying to do wildlife conservation. Ooh, I just can't wait to steal all the Pokemon from the Wildlife Conservation Center. And it doesn't have to be more complex than that, you know? You can use the experience share. You don't have to play hard mode. But there is a hard mode if you're that type of person. So I don't know. That's part of what I like about this game so much, is this sort of simplicity, this sort of simple understanding of what Pokemon is, and like taking that to the logical extent to make a game that feels really like what Nintendo would have done.
I think there's a couple touches, more than a couple, many touches that feel like very sophisticated in trying to execute that simple vision. Like something that I have been thinking about the whole time. There's a zoo, or like a conservation wildlife center that all of the Pokemon have been stolen from. And this is like sort of a side quest, but it's pretty major, where you want to like capture new Pokemon and give them to the conservatory so they can like operate this zoo that's also like a rehabilitation center. And when you first arrive there, you walk around this empty zoo, and all of the people have like little things to say who are there, are like, oh, I miss the Pokemon. I really liked coming here and seeing them. It's so sad that they're gone. And there's one area where there is some tall grass, where normally out in the world, if you run through tall grass, wild Pokemon will appear. But here, when you arrive there, if you run through the tall grass, no Pokemon appear ever. No matter how long you run through it. And so it's like, it's taking this mechanical expectation that you have, and it's like invoking a discomfort, and like a subversion of expectation in the player, taking something very direct and obvious and like giving it a mechanical manifestation. And that kind of thought is like all over this game.
Kerry, I know you said that it wasn't super difficult, but I do want to say that I was embarrassingly stuck on the third gym. I did play in hard mode.
Yeah, so you played in hard mode, and we didn't.
Yeah, what did you think of the difficulty?
It wasn't particularly hard. Since I've been playing Radical Red is very much like the type of difficulty hack that feels like that a lot of ROM hacks are so into being now, that are just like, oh, we're doing competitive Pokemon exercises here. We're in Viridian Forest, we're throwing out an Audino with Wish and Yawn and Protect and some other bullshit, and then making you figure out how to beat that. I like Pokemon Lazarus' hard mode. It feels like a good middle ground of like, okay, this is not pancake easy versus what I just described for Radical Red or something like that. But Nemo, you do have a penchant for putting one bullshit Pokemon in early gyms. Whether that's Heracross or the third gym's ace, doesn't really matter.
What was the third gym's ace?
Third gym's ace, and it could just be me. I'm open to this just being me. It's a Mimikyu. But I cycled through like basically 3 different teams trying to kill this Mimikyu. And it took me like... We started playing when the game came out. You were like, you know how many days I was slamming my head against this Mimikyu.
This was a several day event. This was like a couple days where
This was a Dark Souls Rafters on the handheld Switch moment for me. In that it took me like a week straight of doing to actually get past it. But otherwise, I enjoyed it.
You played Dark Souls on the Nintendo Switch.
I did, and I had a great time with it. It was really fun. Kerry and I were playing at the same time. Mm-hmm. I played it in handheld mode, and I decided that I was going to two-hand Smo's hammer as my weapon for the entire run. And prior to this, I was using another giant hammer. And I got to the part in Orlando where you are in the rafters, and there are all those painting guardians throwing knives at you. Mm-hmm. And it took me a week to get through handheld. I'm pretty sure I would have gone straight through it if I just put it on like the TV and used the Pro Controller, but I was like, no, I'm going to do this in handheld mode. And I did do it in handheld mode eventually. But it took me about as long as it took to beat that Mimikyu to get past that area.
Yeah. That was really funny because we were playing together. I was playing on like the PlayStation, and you were sitting on the couch next to me playing the Switch version. I just like walked right past that area. I didn't even think. I've like played that game so many times. I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh yeah. And I look over and like it's one of those things where like I could check on you like 2 hours later, and you were still falling off every like 5 minutes.
Dude, because if I wanted to hit the painting guardians, I had to swing my big ass hammer and shift my hitbox like fucking 10 feet in front of me so that I immediately fall. Or then he brushes against my person and I'm like, "Wah!" and I fall off the rafters. And then one time I got to the very end and I was like, oh my god, I made it, I'm at the end. And instead of taking the ladder, I fucking jumped off like a dumb idiot and then fell all the way to the ground and died instead of just taking the ladder.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job back then. That was a really good time.
Yeah, so that was Yvonne's Dark Souls Rafters moment, is the Mimikyu in Gym 3.
I do think there are a couple sort of balancing issues. Like very early, I think after the second gym and the third town, there's a guy who will give you Swords Dance, which is an extremely powerful move. And I had a real like optimizing the fun out of playing moment where you
were giving everyone Swords Dance.
Taught Swords Dance. Yeah, I gave everyone Swords Dance, and then I was like, I know this isn't fun. I know I shouldn't do this, but it just feels bad to not take this incredible opportunity that's given to me. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things like that I think could use some tweaking, but overall I was really pleased that it was not a difficulty hack.
I did like the level cap system in this game.
Yeah.
Because so in this is something that isn't in any of the other Pokemon games, but in Lazarus, so in hard mode, if you pick hard mode, there is a level cap. The level cap evens out at the highest level Pokemon of the next gym that you're facing. So let's say you're in Gym 3, highest level Pokemon's level like 29 or something. The game will not allow you to level up past level 29. In the easy mode, the regular mode, the normal mode, if you're being woke about it, there's a level cap, but it's a soft level cap. So let's say you get to level 29 in that gym. Instead of like putting a hard cap on you and not allowing it to happen, you just get way less experience from everything. So like suddenly fights where you would have been getting like 1,000 experience, you will just get like 50, 80, you know? And so you can still overlevel yourself if you really try to, or if you're like taking your time with like a lot of time with an area, like you're still able to overlevel yourself. But I think it does help with balance quite a lot, because I didn't find myself like extremely overleveled at any point. I kind of breezed through the game anyway. I thought that was a really nice sort of vibe, especially since like I find it's something that a lot of the mainline Pokemon games struggle with, is like trying to figure out how much experience to give you. Because like, for example, Heart Gold has a lot of trouble with this. Like I feel like every time I've ever played Heart Gold, by the time that I get to the Elite Four, all my Pokemon are underleveled. Like I feel like I have to go way out of my way to train my Pokemon up to get to the level that I need them to be. But this is like I feel like they've struck a pretty good balance with the like casual mode just by putting in this like soft level cap.
I think that's mostly true. My only place I disagree is at the Elite Four. I found myself really overleveled, partially because I felt an urge to like train for the Elite Four with the expectation that it would be pretty difficult. And I didn't know what level they were, and so I beat it in my first try, which I feel like should not happen with the Elite Four.
I also beat it on my first try.
Which, yeah, I think like that sort of tweaking is possible, but it really is like if you just increased all of their levels by 5, like that problem would go away.
Yeah.
So I was not overleveled for the Elite Four because I couldn't be, but what I did notice is that I didn't beat it on my first try. And I ran through the first 3 of the Elite Four, and I said, all right, I guess I lost that one. What do I got to tweak to get through it next time? And I went in the first room, and they said, good job. Go on to the next room. And I was like, what? And I went on to the second one, and they were like, good job. Go on to the next one. Same thing happened for the third, so I didn't have to refight any of the Elite Four members, which feels honestly unintentional.
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would make that decision, so I imagine that's something that's going to change I imagine a lot of the later parts of the game are susceptible to be updated in version 2.0.
Yeah, I can confirm this.
But that is one thing I
can confirm this. Even if you if you defeat the Elite Four and defeat the champion and beat the game and stuff, and then go back and try to fight the Elite Four again, they won't let you. They just say go on to the next room and then you can fight the champion again if you want, but you can't fight the Elite Four again once you've beat one of them.
I do really hope they replace the champion.
Yeah, I didn't care for the champion. We can get into it later.
Okay. No,
he's just some fucking guy. Well, whatever, it's fine. We'll get into it.
He's like, hey guys, been a while.
Some fucking guy. It reminded me a lot of Wallace in Emerald, who it makes more sense that he's there if you've already played Ruby Sapphire, but I did not as a child, and so it was really Steven Stone is so obviously foreshadowed to be the champion, and then when he's not, it's really odd.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that because it reminded me of that feeling in Emerald of who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, I guess since we're talking about it, the champion in this game, I don't know, spoilers for Lazarus, I guess. It's Pokemon, so whatever. The champion in this game, the champion in this game, it's just some random biker. It's it's a guy who, I don't remember if he has a motorcycle or not, but he seems like he would for sure. He's just he has I think he does, because he has a Cyclizar as well. So I think that is his vibe, is that he's like a biker guy. But he's just some random guy. He's I was the champion. I beat the Elite Four so bad that they disestablished the Elite Four last time. So now I guess I'm back. He's just some fucking loser that nobody's ever heard of or talked about. I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, I think the gyms and the sort of gym progression has some weak points. One of the things I noticed is they don't feel like big events. They're definitely milestones, but one of the things that makes the gyms feel very exciting is they are puzzles. In the mainline games, I mean, there's a usually pretty easy puzzle that you have to traverse through and solve while fighting all of the minions to get to the gym leader. So when you reach the gym leader, it feels like you have struggled, you have solved something, and it feels like a climax. I imagine programming new puzzles into a game like this is insanely difficult. So I'm not asking for that, but it does have an effect. I feel if you ask me to describe the interior of any of these gyms, I would not be able to.
Yeah, I think functionally,
functionally
they're basically rooms with guys you have to fight,
and it goes very quickly. Is the thing that I noticed.
I found myself feeling that way about the routes. The routes were definitely designed in a different way than typical 2D Pokemon routes are. It felt very more organically shaped, but I found that there was still only kind of one path to take, if that makes sense. I feel like Pokemon routes are typically there are multiple paths to take within each route, or you have little areas off to the side that are their own little things. And Pokemon Lazarus had a lot of big, winding rooms for routes, and I thought that felt good, but I also found that there wasn't a lot in those routes necessarily. It's kind of just find your way around to the next part of the game.
I think there are some that do not fall in there, the Wandering Woods, which I think is between the second and third town. I found really difficult, and that was one of the more compelling routes. Was I get a little bit lost, I have to go back and heal. That at that point, the leveling is such that it's pretty difficult. So I think there's a world where with a little bit of tweaking, it could be a nice mix between routes that are more direct and walking down a hallway, and ones that are difficult to navigate and challenging. There's a world where there's a really nice mix, because clearly Nemo knows how to design the routes that are more challenging, and the ones that are really good.
I think the caves are really a good instance of good cave design.
Yes.
And the ice caves and the puzzles there, those are really good.
I really enjoyed that.
Strong areas.
There's a random guy in that area that says, "These red-orange plants are a sign that we're close to Piraeus Town." That's what it is, Piraeus Town. Nobody quite knows why, but plants around here are stuck in a permanent state of autumn. which I think is just it's a really funny little excuse to just like make an autumn area. But it's very pretty. Like most of this game. I'm looking through a bunch of screenshots that I have right now, and it's like really stunning the fact that like all of these just look like a Pokemon game. And it's like, it obviously is built in the Pokemon engine and stuff like that, but it's, I don't know, there's a certain amount of polish to it that is really pretty. I'm looking at like toppled trees in this area. There's mushrooms, tiny little patches of grass that are different, and like different colored trees in the surrounding area, and different like colored, like discolored areas of the ground. I don't know. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, let's hear it for the windmill animation in
honestly
one of the first towns. Let's get a round of applause.
Yeah, for real.
That is one of the things I was going to bring that up also, because I did a little bit of snooping through the Discord, and it seems like the windmill animation is one of the things that Nemo really struggled with, like trying to figure out how to animate. And like is asking a lot of questions of like, how do I do this? And I think it's really indicative of like they didn't give up on that. Like the aesthetic of it, and like the animation and the world being pretty and dynamic is really important, and it's something that they like spent a lot of time on. Yeah, I think we've been underselling how beautiful it is, because it really is. Like, it's also like stylistically unique. Like, it doesn't quite feel like the palette and style of Emerald or Crystal before it. It is taking those two as big influences, but it's doing its own thing. Also, Kerry, you said about the red leaves in Pithos Town. There's a woman in the zoo who's looking at the graveyard exhibit, and she says, "The red leaves of this area reminds me of my childhood in Pithos Town. Maybe I should pay it a visit."
Aw.
And that's like another little piece of dialogue that I thought was like really.
Well, that's really good. There's like a consistency there. There's like a tension, you know? I really like that. I like Pithos Town a lot. I think that like it ends up being for me like a really central area. That's where you meet Piraeus, who is my favorite character in this game. Probably the only character that I really remember as like a character in this game, besides like your rival Rania and stuff. But Piraeus is the first character that I really liked, because he has both like utility and a lot of personality. He recruits you when you're in Pithos Town to go fight some Team Chimera thugs who want to steal his boat. He has a boat, and he's like, hey, when you beat him, tell him Piraeus sent you. Piraeus the strong. No, Piraeus the wise. And it's, I don't know, that's kind of hard. And he has a Vaporeon. I don't know, he's just sick. He lets you use his
Whenever
boat.
I was just gonna say, when you go to locations with him, the Vaporeon is running around outside. It's a lot like in
Pico.
Emerald.
Pico.
There's Pico the seagull.
Yes,
but it's not just in the home area. It's like everywhere you go, he's running around, which is like great, like plucking of that, expanding on it, making it more compelling.
Yeah, and he becomes sort of the fast travel system for most of the game, because you don't really get fly until like almost the very end of the game. And so you spend a lot of time like shipping around to different ports in the region with him. And I don't know, he's kind of sick. He gives you a cabin in his boat, which you can customize with furniture. Love that.
I knew you would love the cabin.
That's some real Yvonne targeted shit. But this is one of the good things about the game. That's like taking Pokemon and just putting in all the stuff that everybody always liked, because like this is like in Gen 3, it's like you have those hidden little bases that you can make and you can decorate and stuff, and everybody loved that. You know, it's like now you have just a little room and you can play a little bit of Animal Crossing there.
I remember you showing me your secret base in Emerald, and it was like the most advanced secret base I'd ever seen. I don't think I ever put anything in there more than like a chair and a table. And yours was like decked out. I was like, I didn't even know this was possible.
Well, that's like one of my core memories of playing Pokemon Emerald was going to my cousin's house. We would mix records, and so when you mixed records or traded or battled, you would get a copy of their secret base in your world, and you could battle their team that they had in their party whenever you ended up mixing records. So it was a great way to like train your Pokemon, because it would like, they had a bunch of level 100 legendaries. They would just throw out a bunch of level 100 legendaries in your game that you could go battle and get experience from. So secret bases were always like, oh yeah, this is like This is the big
yeah.
right now.
This is some highly targeted Yvonne-based gaming.
Speaking of like the boats and the travel, I feel like the world and map design of this game is like really strong. It's obviously like taking a lot of cues from Gen 3 and Emerald.
I loved it. I think it does such a good job of like incorporating a bunch of different like biomes and a bunch of different areas to like give a good variety of Pokemon while still feeling like one coherent region. I think the boat Piraeus like goes a long way with that, forcing him to like even though you're in a cutscene on a boat and you don't actually see yourself going all around the world, knowing that you have to sail around everywhere makes everything feel like together.
That's a really good point.
And even though you have the cold ice caves and you have the super hot areas and you have the island areas, but it's like, okay, yeah, this is all one, this is all Ilios.
Yeah, I have a hard time with like world maps sort of trying to like I can't really ever tell if they're good or bad. It's something that I don't understand enough to know like what's going on there. But I had a good time. I really like Yvonne said, there's like a really big diversity. Like every area feels and looks different. Every area has sort of its own style and like implied history and stuff. And I find that stuff really charming.
I thought it was really great. One of my favorite things about Emerald is like the kind of Metroidvania structure of it, where you sort of see places that you will one day go, but you can't go yet. I think that's basically always fun, and it's one of the Pokemon Black is probably my favorite Pokemon game. It's one of the huge weaknesses of that game is it's like a circle. There's not really any interesting world design. And this one like is able to do that. There's this one place that you walk by on the way to Sophos City where you know that this route leads to Port Pello, and there's an angry man on the blocked path. He says, "This is ridiculous. I have business in Port Pello. Can you believe this? Blocking the path to a major city like it's nothing. I know Team Chimera is dangerous, but life must go on, right?" I thought that was so great because it's something that like is really common in these games is like, how do you justify closing off all of these routes? Yeah. And they come up with like very funny reasons. And I think like this guy being there blocking the path and then like yelling about how it's annoying that he can't do business is really funny. It says something about like here's a traveling merchant who's like trying to conduct his business in this world, and he's being inconvenienced by like the state intervening. I really liked it. It was really funny.
That's something that like is really common in Pokemon games and like sort of RPGs in general. The like you have to invent a reason that you can't go past this line, There's like Earthbound and Mother 3 do really funny bits about this sort of thing a lot. Like there's a bit, I forget which one it is, but there's a bit in one of those games where it's like there's a certain little spot that you just cannot pass by, and it's like, oh, there's a line of ants here and you don't want to step on them. It's like totally arbitrary reason.
Yeah.
And like I remember in Gen, pretty sure there's an area that there's just like a gang of Psyduck that are just standing in the way, and you can't convince them to move. That's just, I don't know. Yeah. I find that very funny to me. This like because it almost feels like the game sort of winking at you and being like, you get it? Like you can't go over here. I'm a video game. I don't know. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think your point, Yvonne, about the boat like uniting the world is like really accurate. Like Emerald does that very well. Like you get to see how it traverses, and then like I remember very vividly in Emerald when you watch the boat go by all of the swimmers in the ocean, and you think to yourself, oh, I can't fight these people now because I'm on the boat, but one day I will be able to surf over here and fight those people. And I think that kind of like design is like so cool. Also related to like the world map, the way this game talks about like the economy and production is really funny. Especially there's 2 islands that you get to towards the end of the game. One of which is where they like produce marble. And all of the people have opinions about this. There's a boy on there whose name is Rich Boy. And he says, apparently this island made a ton of money by selling marble to the rest of the region. Maybe I could do something like that. And so it's like he has hopes and dreams, but they're in context of who he is. And then, like, nearby him, there's a woman who is named Psychic, and she says, "The white stone of Marmaro Island has special properties. In ancient Ilios, people used to build temples with it to honor the gods." So they're, like, talking about the same thing, how history and production and the economy are all intertwined from, like, different perspectives. And then you get to walk around, like, the mine, and that's where you do the mining mini game.
Oh, the mining minigame is awesome.
Like that, it's so awesome. I spent so much time doing the mining minigame.
I love how easily you can just slam out little mining sessions.
It's great, yeah. And I won't go through all the dialogue, but a similar thing happens on the other island where they produce wine, which is like one of the more beautiful areas too.
There's one guy, Yvonne showed this to me. There's one guy in one of the houses on that island that just says, "Don't tell anybody, but I don't like grapes." That's so funny.
I don't really like grapes, buddy. We're putting you on the front page.
Everyone's gonna know. Hey guys, this guy doesn't like grapes.
Kalami City too. This is the last. I promise it's the last one I'll bring up. But Kalami City is like a trade port, and there's a building in there that is a data processing center, which is really funny. And like all of the people in it have jobs related to data processing and like shipping logistics. It's just like really funny. There's a woman who says, "This is a locally run data processing center for the Kalami City trade ports. We keep track of everything that goes through the city." I always like that. Like one of the best parts of Pokemon imagining that you're in the Pokemon world is like all of the ways that Pokemon help out. Like in Emerald, like when the Vigoroths are there, like moving furniture. Mm-hmm. Like that's such an outstanding opening to be like, you're in the Pokemon world. And so whenever they talk about stuff like that, I think is really fun. There's a guy who has a timber, and then he's like, "My Pokemon helps me cut lumber." And then Timber, if you didn't know, is like holding a log in his sprite.
I think it's funny that they made Timber do that. He's like the labor Pokemon. You know what I mean?
The proletariat Pokemon.
Literally. I was thinking about how in Pokemon Red and Blue, there's also like in the city with like the electric gym, like by where Snorlax is. There's these guys who are like clearing out a bunch of land to start construction, and they're having a Machoke basically run in circles in it to make it look like he's doing labor there. That sort of thing is always really cool, because that's really like one of the big like themes with Pokemon, right? Is like, how do we live in this world? What is it like to live in this world with these creatures? Like that is both the like ultimate fantasy of Pokemon, but also like the big theme, and that like goes stated pretty explicitly in a lot of the games, like especially in the Legends games. That sort of seems like the big thing, right? In Legends Arceus, it's, you know, we are sort of in this dangerous time where these wild Pokemon can show up and hurt people, and how do we create a society that accommodates for that and is functioning for people and for Pokemon? And then in, you know, Legends ZA, it's, you know, one of the big things is like, oh, we need to try to create this city in such a way where wild Pokemon are able to cohabitate with people, you know, and sort of the wild zones is like them trying to investigate how to do that. And there's a lot of dialogue with people that's like, "Oh, they put a wild zone in my commute," you know, which is like, I don't know, that sort of thing is really funny to me. So I feel like that's always been sort of one of the big themes with Pokemon, is like, how do we live in this world with these creatures?
Even like the Rotom phone, like your phone is a Pokemon, even stuff like that, I feel like is
I don't like the Rotom phone, I'll say it.
You don't like I love the Rotom phone. I think it's really fun.
No, because it's like everyone has I thought Rotom used to be special. He used to be my special boy.
I can empathize with that, actually. They kind of doomed Rotom to like live in a Pokedex for the rest of his life. That is true, yeah. Like Rotom as a concept is never going to be.
He was a special little pseudo legendary Pokemon in Gen 4, and he was like, "Oh, it's my special little scary little ghost, and he can turn into a lawnmower or a fridge." And now he's in everybody's iPhone.
Now he's playing Reels for you when he opens his mouth.
Rotom Reels is crazy.
Think people jack off on their Rotom.
No!
Oh, man.
I'm making my
I don't think
Rotom
anybody in the Pokemon universe has a penis.
They're all smooth down there like a Ken doll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the only way that makes sense.
I think all eggs and children are made via love and personality.
They sort of do like refuse to acknowledge that eggs happen because Pokemon have sex because every time a Pokemon
nobody knows.
That's what I'm saying. Like every time a Pokemon egg appears in like a daycare center or whatever, they're always just like, yeah, this thing just sort of showed up one day. Like I don't know how it happened. Anyway, you can take care of it now.
It's funny that they've been like, okay, we have Pokemon don't fuck. They just focus their energies together and create an egg. Because like you can have like a big ass, I don't remember the specifics, but there are a couple Pokemon in the same egg groups where like you can have like let's say a Wailord and a Jigglypuff can have an egg. But only if there's a male and a female. Like, we've gotten to the point where anybody can do anything, but it still has to be a boy and a girl to make a baby. It's so funny.
That's really funny.
Yeah, but they're not fucking.
No, they're being friends.
Yeah.
They're doing...
Or not even. You can talk to them and be like, yeah, these guys don't really get along, and then there'll be an egg.
They're doing biological essentialism too. We don't even have, like, division of reproductive labor. We're just going on vibes.
Once upon a time,
really
most
funny.
Pokemon didn't have gender, red and blue. There wasn't a
Really?
there wasn't a like sex distinction because there wasn't breeding yet. They didn't add
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah, the only Pokemon that had a sex or a gender or whatever was Nidoran and Nido. The Nidoran line of Pokemon, because that was why they specifically had it. That was Nidoran male and Nidoran female. The rest of them, they were just chilling. I guess Nidoran was the last one or first one to figure it out.
There's a couple like quality of life things I want to mention, because this is like one of the things that tends to get a lot of change in Romhacks. So it added to this game, there are type symbols that you can see when you fight Pokemon. So it will tell you what type your enemy is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't tell you if the move you're about to use is super effective or not effective,
Mm-hmm.
that, which I think is interesting because I think the modern Pokemon games all do this now. They tell you once you have used the move once if it will be super effective or not.
Yeah.
It's a really tough, I don't envy like this design problem because like on the one hand, it's like, do you want everyone to memorize this type chart that is extremely complex and like difficult to do? That's not really worth doing unless you're playing competitively, or just kind of like guess and check. I think it's a nice middle ground, but it's also like having the type symbols, in Lazarus is a nice middle ground.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, I wouldn't want to know, like if I think there's something really enjoyable about me being a person who doesn't have the entire type chart memorized, but has most of it down pretty much, but will every now and then be like, what is the interaction between like ghost and psychic and dark types exactly? I don't really remember. I think it's really fun sometimes to be like, I know I have enough information. Like I know these two types of Pokemon. I know the move that I'm about to use, but I don't actually quite know if this is going to be super effective or not. There's something very fun about that. I would prefer them not tell me, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I think like the trap that of like telling you if it's super effective or not, like the problem with that is like it sort of erases the mechanic like once something they added. So I started playing this game in the 1.0 patch, and halfway through it updated to 1.1. One of the additions was you can now change the IVs and EVs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Pokemon.
I never touched this.
I think this is bad and they shouldn't have done it, but I was curious what you guys thought.
I think it's mostly unnecessary. I don't think it really affects the game one way or the other, because like I think we've already said, the game isn't necessarily hard. It doesn't. I can definitely see why some people would want to do it, because if I'm remembering correctly, there were like battle areas and battle tents, or the Lazarus version of them, where you do go in and battling and like succeeding is the main point. So I can see why they included it for this. But for the story mode, which is what I imagine most people are doing this for, it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah. I would have never known this even existed unless I was told that it did. And I looked at it 1 second, I said, I'm not touching that. I don't know. It's beyond me. Here's the thing about stats in Pokemon is that largely, by and large, they matter, but they don't matter. Like I've never in my life been a type of person who catches a Pokemon and then looks at their stats and goes, these are kind of bad. You know, maybe I'll look at their nature, maybe. So it's one of those things I just like don't really care about it because I don't really think about it almost ever.
I will say even though I didn't think it would actually matter, I immediately changed it as soon like all my teams.
She min-maxed them all
as soon as I got the update.
Yes,
immediately. Like that's the first thing I did.
Yeah, this is the same thing that I did, and I wish that I hadn't, but I guess I'm just weak-willed because like I think this is like an optimizing the fun out of it problem. Like it takes maybe 20 seconds to do this to your Pokemon. It's right there in the menu. And the difference between that and like going and catching a bunch of Pokemon to find one that are the good stats is like such a vast difference in time and commitment. Like one is a decision and one is like if I give in to my inner demons for 1 second, like I can just change all of the stats and there's no way to go back, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the ease of it, I think is the problem.
I did enjoy like prior to that update, like if I found a Pokemon with a bad nature, bad stats, I would go catch another one, which is how I got to my Dr. Daisy situation.
Yeah.
But I love the different tints on Pokemon that made like each individual one feel a bit special.
Yes, that's right.
Just, you know, it'd be like red, blue, or green, probably tint for like the three of them, and it just, you know, it made catching like multiple Pokemon feel worth it.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, they do have like each Pokemon does have like it's not a shiny thing. It's just like there's different sort of color schemes for each one. Sometimes you'll get a Scyther that is just slightly darker or slightly brighter than the other ones. And I think that's it's really cool.
It makes it feel like you're not running into the same Pokemon all the time. It's like they are different creatures, which is really nice.
There's also, once you get past a certain point, you'll get a device or an item or something that tells you the Pokemon's nature when you see it in the wild, which is really funny because it'll be like, oh, a wild, or it's like a wild naughty Scyther appeared. You know what I mean? It's like, that's, I don't know, it's very silly. Yeah. I like seeing
the
that.
Gentle, like Ariados or whatever, Magental Spinarak.
Oh, the humble gentle Spinarak.
I agree, it's really fun.
I want to talk about one of my new favorite Pokemon because I mentioned this briefly earlier, but one of my new favorite Pokemon is Minwar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's a rock flying type.
Yeah. This also, I had not ever seen this before.
This is the first time I've ever seen this little thing. It's a kind of freaky. Minwar is a meteor Pokemon. It's from space. And it's a really scary looking rock. At least in this game, it looks very scary. It almost, like, the best way I can describe it is if it was like if a Luma from Mario Galaxy was also a corpse. Like its eyes sort of look like it's crying almost. But that's just Minwar's rocky exterior, because when Minwar gets below 50% HP, the rocky exterior falls apart and it turns into a bright, shining, colorful little star guy. And it changes weight and becomes really light, which probably has a number of gameplay effects. I don't know. But it's very cool. And I just want to quote this Bulbapedia article. Now we're in a Bulbapedia corner. Minwar forms in the stratosphere from an aggregation of mutated nanoparticles where it absorbs particulate matter from which it builds its core and shell. When touched in meteor form, Minwar will react when touched or called to. It is unknown if these responses indicate its consciousness. Eventually, this process makes it too heavy and it falls towards the surface of the planet. When its shell breaks from landing, Minwar becomes lighter and capable of attacking quickly. However, it cannot survive for long without its core exposed, and will eventually die if not placed inside a Pokeball quickly enough. Despite this, many fallen Minwar will attempt to return to space, sadly being unable to do so. While in the ozone layer, it serves as food to stronger Pokemon. Minwar's diet consists of eating dust. It's just like every single sentence of that is like, as it kept going, I was like, oh my god, what is with this freak? This like fragile, almost dead freak. So it's so weird. I put him on my team for a while. I like the idea of a Pokemon that's just like a rock with a questionable amount of consciousness that eats dust. I don't know. It's like such a nothing guy, but I like him a lot.
He's really cool. He also really stuck out to me. I think the thing that got me was I had never seen him before, but there was a couple Pokemon that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
What really stuck out to me is the first time I encountered him, and I think the first time a lot of people will, is he's the only Pokemon on a trainer in like the second route, and he's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Like it was the first time I wiped was against this Pokemon, and even the trainer was like, I don't know where this thing came from. And then he fights you and like destroys you when you're like really not expecting it, which was just so funny. It just mechanically added all of this weight to this like strange alien Pokemon.
It also like the first time
really
I battled against it, like you get it to half health, and like I said, like the core of it is exposed, and so the rock exterior falls apart, and it becomes like it turns out there's several different colors that Minwar can be, but the one that I saw was like blue or something. And so I thought for a second, I was like, oh, is it a water type now? And I was like trying to change up how I fought it. And of course, because it's a rock, it's like still a rock type. It doesn't change anything. But I thought that was a really interesting moment where I was like, oh shit, I have to like figure out what I'm doing here. What a weird guy. What a cool guy. I like Minwar a lot.
What a weird guy.
That's Siggy Smalls. That's what I named my Minwar. That was Siggy Smalls. I just want to have like a last shout out to the Wildlife Conservation Facility. This is like, it's just a zoo. Basically, you can donate. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but it's just like you can donate Pokemon to it. All the Pokemon, when you show up, all the Pokemon had been stolen by Team Chimera, the evil team. Throughout your game, you can continue coming back there. If you catch like multiples of Pokemon, it's a good place to put them. Or at the end of the game, if you're done with the file, you can just like fill it up like I did. And I find this so charming because at the end of it, because you actually do get to see all the Pokemon you caught and put in the conservation center, like walking around in their little habitats and stuff like that. And the people around the zoo will have like updated dialogue that's like, oh, I'm so glad the Pokemon are back now. And it's a very small touch, but it's like, it's one of those things that I wish was in every Pokemon game. Because it's so cute. It's like really, really a novel idea to just like, oh, here's a zoo and you, the player, have a part in putting Pokemon in there. And this is how you get the Master Ball as well. If you put in like 25 Pokemon into the conservation center, that's how I got the Master Ball, which I haven't used.
Really? I did not ever get the Master Ball. It's shame on me for not being a proper conservationist, but...
Maybe you should have got your numbers up, Yvonne. I don't know.
Have you tried locking in?
Probably a skill issue.
Yeah, I noticed when I was snooping that the zoo and Marini Island, which is the one with the grapes, are one of the only things that Nemo posted about before the game was released. Which I think indicates like their pride in those things, which is good because they're like some of the best parts of the game.
Yeah.
But also like what they care about. We also didn't really talk about the plot of the game.
Yeah.
Which is like there is Team Chimera who's like doing bad stuff. Whenever their leader shows up, she has like things to say about like, we are trying to get a lot of money. We don't care about people. We only care about money, which is pretty on the nose. But I don't know. It felt very in line with like what Pokemon stories should be.
Yeah. They felt very Team Rocket to me because they are just sort of like, we're going to sell Pokemon and make money.
You have kind of two rivals, Reina and Nico, and I liked them. I
love Reina.
Yeah. She was the perfect balance between like not sort of sycophantic like some of the rivals are later, but also not an enemy, you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was a really nice balance.
What shiny did you guys get from Reina or the other rival when you got the egg?
I got a shiny Skiddo, which I did not use because I had a Decidueye.
What is a Skiddo?
It's the grass goat.
It's the grass goat from Gen 6.
Oh, that's the goat!
You ride him around. Or
I like
Skiddo.
Yeah.
Gen 6. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. I definitely would have run him if my starter was not grass type.
I got a Corphish and I didn't like that, so I just don't care for Corphish.
Oh, yes. You hate Corphish. I forgot about this. I got a Shelder.
Nice.
Little yellow Shelder.
Yeah, the gold Shelder is so sick.
The Cloyster is blue. I would have loved to have Cloyster also be golden, but you can't win them all.
The shiny decisions are so whatever.
Right. Well, it's not. I mean, I think it isn't a decision really. I think that it's like a color palette swap, because that's how they did it originally in Gen 2, because that's where they introduced the shinies. Is they took the default color and they I don't know, they just moved some numbers over basically to generate a different sprite.
Interesting.
So I think that it's not really a decision. I think it's just sort of generated that way.
We also didn't really mention the music. I think this is one of the weaker parts of the game. Some of the music is good. I really liked the Kalami City theme, but that one and a number of other ones are sort of like remixes of songs from other games, which I don't think is bad, but some of them are less great than others. And also like the mixing and volume of a lot of them is like not great.
Yeah, there were a couple of songs that in particular that like ended up sort of being clippy.
I will say that even from the release version to 1.1, the music that they're updating is like the new updated sounds so
yes,
so
that's
good.
right. The trainer battle theme,
the battle music they added. Oh, it was
yeah,
so
they
sad.
added a new like battle theme in 1.1.
The battle theme is so good.
Yeah,
it is really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and what else they improve on, because
Any closing thoughts on Pokemon Lazarus before we move on to our final event?
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out. So we don't have to spend much time on this, but pretty soon after it launched, Nemo made a post on Reddit about basically like people bullying them and being demanding as gamers are wont to do, and especially like in relation to like their queerness. And I just think that sucks, and it has an impact on the way people perceive the community. I think like Pokemon has a pretty nasty habit of being really demanding of not just Game Freak, but a similar attitude taken towards Romhack developers, where like some people want everything to be for them, and it's pretty clear from the complaints that like some people wanted this to be a difficulty hack and it wasn't. And I just wanted to say like Nemo is right in all of this, and people should be nice to them because they worked really hard and they made something really great.
Yeah, it's a genuinely very beautiful game.
And I would like to see Pokemon gamers be not something that I have to be ashamed of.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
I think that the evil Pokemon gamers who were being homophobic to Nemo should be in jail, and I should be in charge of the prison.
That's a great solution to prison abolition. Is like instead we don't abolish prisons, we just put Kerry in charge of them.
After the revolution, I'm gonna be the one in charge of the prisons. Let me tell you, and things will be running a little bit differently around here.
It wouldn't have gone down like that if I was there.
Yeah.
We are going to move on in a second. I just wanted to say some of the names of the people who worked on various aspects of the game that were not Nemo, just for, I don't know, posterity. I think it's worth acknowledging. Like,
no, absolutely.
Towards the beginning of the game, there are some sliding puzzles that are really fun. Those were designed by Spherical Ice. There's the mining minigame, which was implemented by Vol. The Dex Nav was created by Ghoul Slash. There's a name box, which is a really great quality of life feature. Tustin2121. There's a bunch of these. There's too many for me to name. There's a quest system by Pokemon San Fran. Most basic overworld sprites are purchased from Anima Nell, Zebuka, and Arex on itch.io. And then there's a ton of people who worked on various sprites. On the user interface, there's pages and pages of this. For the music, Tom Sanborn did a bunch of the themes, some of which we really liked. The battle music versus Chimera versus the gym leaders in the wild. Katsumi No as well did the Port Pello song and a bunch of other ones, which I thought was really good. So you can go read them all in the documentation, but it takes a village, even if like Nemo is making sort of the core design decisions. Like, this is a result of a lot of work from a lot of people.
Yeah, as all games are.
It's all
there's
exactly.
I think a lot of people have written about this before, but there's like the myth of the solo developer, who develops a game all by themselves. It's not to say that it's never happened, but it's something that doesn't generally happen. Like, people. Yeah. It's in our nature as people to ask people for help, and I think everyone should be credited for what they do.
One of the reasons I want to point this out is because there's this interview with Nemo with Cessa Lily. You can go watch it on YouTube, but they take great pains to point this out. And I think like that's something that's pretty familiar if you watch like a lot of interviews with like these quote unquote solar developers. That quote unquote sounds like it's not scare quotes. It's like with people who are like seen this way.
Right.
Very often they will be like, that's not really true. Like there's a lot of other people and a lot of other work involved. I think it's something that like media tends to put on people because it's like clickbaity. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Do you want to take a little break?
Yeah, let's take 5 and then we'll come back to do our, our final little surprise at the end of this episode. Can I tell you guys, I'm going to be vulnerable right now. Can I tell you guys a little something that I have anxiety about for some reason? It's very silly. This is one of those things that's like, this is a nothing problem. But when I'm like on a voice call with somebody and like a Discord or something, and I go to the bathroom, I always want to mute my mic because I'm really scared that someone will hear me peeing. I don't know why this is a thing that I think about, but I'm always like, I hope they didn't hear my stream. So that's...
You're going to come back to your computer and we're going to be like, Kerry, dropping logs.
No! Huh? See, that's my nightmare.
Confront you on it?
That's the exact...
I have never heard anyone pee on stream. I will say I leave my mic on specifically so people will hear it. I think it's asserting dominance.
Yeah, that's why we're such great friends, Tess. That's why we work together well. Because I'm scared of.
That's Loki. So true.
Because I'm scared of the pee situation, and you love the pee situation.
Yeah. I'm always saying that. Every time we do one of these, I'm like, I'm going to do my voice training voice. I'm going to like really turn it up. And then we get 5 hours in. And
yeah.
I mean, that's, yeah.
We got to let it rip.
It's fine.
Maybe one day. Okay. We're back.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up the podcast, we are recording this in early January. And so it is Game of the Year season. We are not particularly married to these awards or awards generally, but we thought it would be nice to talk about what games we played this year that are like not RPGs from the podcast. That doesn't even mean necessarily that they came out this year. We've decided to name our award show.
I want to hold on. Let me try and lead us in here. Welcome to the annual Leaving the Party Award Ceremony Awards 2025. Huge panic at the heart-throbbing school trip. And then we'll play some music.
That's really
It'll
good.
Be I don't know, something good.
The joke is that this abbreviates to the ALPACAs.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I spent a long time on like Anagram Maker trying to like
oh really
find one that was funny. That's the best I got. Yeah. Anyway, Yvonne, so what did you play this year? Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff Keighley of the Games.
That's me.
That's Tess Keighley.
I have a problem in that I don't play a large variety of video games.
Mm-hmm.
Play Dota 2, and I play Minecraft. And that's like 97% of my video game time. And I feel like Dota is kind of like a sport that I'm like practicing and like playing and like competing in. And the way I play Minecraft is like art. Like I like to build, I like to create. And so between my sports and my art, I don't really have time for video games. But that being said, I did play a couple video games this year. I think that the game that I got the most enjoyment out of that was new and that came out this year would be Rematch, which is a soccer game made by the developers of that fighting game that I'm forgetting, Sifu. If you're familiar, the developer is Slow Clap. This year they released an arcade-style soccer game. It feels like it scratched an itch for me. Like, FIFA is such a huge series and franchise of video games, but it never really felt like playing soccer. it felt like playing like a video game of soccer. And Rematch really hits that sort of like freedom of expression and perspective and like just like street level pickup soccer game feel that I hadn't really felt since high school. That really stuck with me and made me enjoy it. The one I was thinking that I might also have as my alpaca was Undertale, because I played it for the first time this year over the summer.
It's a beautiful game.
Pretty fun game. A beautiful game, actually. Wow, it's no wonder people like that guy Toby Fox.
Yeah,
he's doing some good things over there.
I have not. I've never played it. I've never played Deltarune. I am really looking forward to one day doing an episode of this podcast about Undertale and Deltarune.
Yeah, we should do that.
For the first time.
It is a really, really charming little video game. I did a pacifist run, and I won't be doing a genocide run because I have a soul. Yeah, they're very charming. I just wish that one girl didn't call you so much in the second half of the game. That was really annoying. But otherwise, those are my thoughts on my video games for the year.
Yeah, if
we'll
it was
be sending an alpaca to Toby Fox.
Yeah, expect your alpaca in the mail. We this is one of those things that I would, if it were up to me, Tess, and I would. This will not happen. But if it were up to me, before you played Undertale, I would make you play Earthbound. I would make you play Mother 3. I would make you read all of Homestuck.
Wait, Tess, have you not played Earthbound? God. You seem like the type of girl who's played Earthbound.
No, I've never played Earthbound or Mother 3.
Wow. Well...
And she's never read Homestuck.
The funny thing is, like, I actually really haven't played a lot of, like, RPGs or, like, JRPGs.
Sure.
Yeah, I roped her into this, sort of.
That's
I would really love to, like, one of my goals for the podcast is to have actual alpaca awards to send to people.
That would be awesome.
Like indie studios specifically.
That would be so sick.
I think it would be fun. Kerry, what are your alpacas?
Yeah, so I have a couple of games I want to shout out. The first one I'll mention is Keep Driving. I wrote a whole thing about it. You can read it on the blog. But it's probably the game this year that I had the strongest emotional connection to. All the games that I'm shouting out this time are games that have come out this year. I also played Final Fantasy IX for the first time this year. That was fire. So Square Enix, prepare to receive your alpaca. But Keep Driving... I had a really strong emotional connection to Keep Driving. It really hits this like road trip movie, nostalgic sadness really perfectly and just stays there the whole time. And it's not itself like a sad game, but it allows itself to be real and like truthful and honest. And in doing so is also like very simple. So I loved it. It's that I'm going to give out awards for each of these games I'm going to mention. Keep Driving wins the Petite Bourgeois Melancholy Award. So thank you, Keep Driving. That one's for you. I have White Knuckle. I don't know if anyone's heard of this. I think I showed Yvonne this at one point, but White Knuckle is probably the most like traditionally fun game on this list by a long shot. White Knuckle is like a video game, you know? It's got an interesting world and all, but it just feels so good. You play with it sort of feels like Half-Life. It's like a first-person climbing game. But the movement sort of feels like Half-Life somehow. And the left click controls your left hand, and your right click controls your right hand, and you click to grab stuff, and you can jump, and you just climb. You're in like a really tall silo that is procedurally generated based on like a series of like areas that they designed. And like gray goop is rising from the ground and is threatening to swallow you, and you just have to climb to escape it. And there's a bunch of different areas, and it's just so sick. It's really fun. It's like a super fun game. And yeah, I really like White Knuckle. I think it's in early access, but that is like the most like traditionally fun video game that I played this year. White Knuckle gets the Video Game Award for video games in video game design. That's for you. You can expect that in the mail. The next one is Final Fantasy Tactics, which is the remake of Final Fantasy Tactics that they came out last year. It's just really good. Obviously, Tactics is already a great game, but they updated the script. A large number of like the original devs came back to sort of reevaluate the game. So there's like a lot of quality life stuff and an updated script and everything, and really, really like super stellar voice performances. The whole thing is voice acted now, and that's like, it's so beautiful. And you can still play the old game if you don't like it, but I do like it quite a bit. So the Final Fantasy Tactics receives the Remake Award for excellence in games that already came out. And the last one here is Of the Devil, which is the GOAT. It's so fucking sick. Of the Devil is one of the sickest games I've played in fucking forever. It's really good. When the game is finished, I would love to do like a really big Of the Devil episode because I love this shit. Of the Devil is a visual novel murder mystery. I grew up being really into a couple of murder mystery visual novels like Danganronpa and Ace Attorney. And I always loved them so much, but I remember always being so frustrated by them, especially Danganronpa. Danganronpa is like another highly stylish murder mystery that clearly inspired Of the Devil, but it has these really kind of huge gaps in the quality of writing. It's like so invested in making these like fun murder mysteries, yet often like fails to make them actually compelling, or they're really like non-transparent about evidence and plot twists in a way that's kind of unsatisfying. Or they fail to make the mystery like around the world that the game takes place in really interesting. And it just falls on its face all the fucking time, like right at the finish line, which is really annoying. Because like the way you make a structurally satisfying murder mystery is by giving the reader enough information that they can like try to solve the case along with the story. Because the murder mystery reader wants to feel smart. That's like the thing about them. It's the fantasy of the genre is like doing thorough investigating, finding the evidence, presenting the case, creating a rock solid like series of events, and rhetorically defeating the arguments of people who are going against you. It's a game, it's like a series of games and a genre built around making you feel smart. And Ace Attorney and Danganronpa and now Of the Devil are all sort of similar attempts at finding ways to like gamify this. Like in Ace Attorney, you do cross-examination, you present evidence, raise objections, press witnesses. And in Danganronpa, it's like a more violent and stylish sort of thing to match the tone of the game. You shoot down false testimonies by firing evidence in the form of bullets, or you slash your opponent's arguments with your own, or there's a platforming snowboarding minigame for some reason. You know, it's a bunch of stuff like that. And Of the Devil has like synthesized these two into this sort of gambling metaphor where you play blackjack with testimonies to get the right amount of information out of someone, or you play poker with evidence cards against the prosecutor dealing, or you like choose to raise and stand based on the hand you have, and you can raise the ante when you're feeling confident. And all this with this like sharp, colorful style of something like Danganronpa, if it was a way more attractive sort of style, because Danganronpa is admittedly a little ugly sometimes. And it's just like, also every character is so hot. It's like the sexiest game I've ever played, and not in like a my femboy roommate type of way, but in the way that like spies and espionage and women are sexy, you know? So
it's not like horny, but it is really sexy.
Yes, exactly.
It's a little horny, but it's mostly
it's like a minor amount. It's a sexy amount of horny. So Of the Devil gets the sexiest game award and the Kerry game of the year. I also played Deltarune. Deltarune was pretty slick, so that gets the Undertale award, I guess. And I didn't care for Expedition 33. You should just play Final Fantasy X. That's my list.
Period.
Here's my list. First honorable mention is Of the Devil. Great video game. I want to hold off on giving this the Game of the Year award until it's all out. I think there's 5 episodes planned. Episode 2 just came out, so I'm still like halfway through playing it. But yeah, everything Kerry said, really strong writing in like the cyberpunk noir specific kind of niche, and also the mysteries are like so compelling. The characters are beautifully written. Just the right amount of like carry through between the cases where you can see the characters growing and changing and having their relationships. But also like each case is pretty unique. There's a free prologue that is really good that you can play. Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Of the Devil. Really excited for it to be done so I can give it the alpaca for game of the future year. I also want to shout out honorable mentions. Europa Universalis 5 came out this year. It's not really being talked about outside of people who are already really into EU4, but it's really good. Obviously, there are the politics of the Europa Universalis games are complex. I don't think they're like strictly bad. There is, the game is called Europa Universalis, and there is like a colonizing mechanic. So, it's complicated.
It's okay. Most video games are colonizing games.
So true. But it's really good. It makes huge improvements on EU4. I think like it's Paradox at their best. And it's also like very rarely does a Paradox game like this, a grand strategy game, ship in a like playable state. EU5 does. Like it's good at launch, which is crazy. Don't know if that's ever happened. So huge kudos to Paradox. Pokemon Lazarus gets an honorable mention. Great video game. Town to City, also I want to shout out. This is a city builder that is very like cozy game coded. It's with like voxels, really good vibes. I play a lot of city building games. A lot of them suffer from this kind of scale problem where the beginning of the game is really fun and then it gets really micromanagey towards the end or the middle. And Town to City does suffer from this a little bit, but one of the benefits is the like plots are pretty small and you're encouraged to just enjoy decorating. It feels like the emphasis is less on like making your city run efficiently and more on making your city look good. So the sort of inherent problems of the city building genre, I think, are less prominent here. It's beautiful. Like the way they do the lighting is really gorgeous.
I'm looking at it right now. It's really pretty.
Access. It's beautiful.
Me too. Oh, this is amazing.
It's really nice. If you've ever enjoyed a city building game, you should just go check it out. It's one of the really good new ones. Also, Lovely Lady RPG did not come out this year, but I played it this year. Great video game. They've just announced a sequel, which is called... What is it called? I'm trying really hard not to say Lovely Lady RPG 2.
Yeah, it's like not actually a sequel. It's like a different...
Waterhead, yes. Yeah, I don't know when this will come out, but I'm very excited about it. And if you haven't played Lovely Lady RPG, you should. Honorable mention also to Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which I played for the first time this year. It's the best Souls game I've played, which is not all of them, but it is the best. I've played Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne and Elden Ring, and it is the best of those. Elden Ring sucks. I can't say kill yourself on the podcast, but
Elden Ring sucks, kill yourself. You can say
it. That's my hottest take. Anyway, Sekiro, criminally underrated. Also, catfishing.net. This is a trivia game, a daily trivia game where you guess Wikipedia article names by the categories that they're in. You can play it with your friends every day. It's awesome. It's the best daily trivia game that there is. Check out catfishing.net. And now here's the winner. Here's the big winner. Here's the alpaca, the game of the year from Tess. It's the Bazaar, baby. The Bazaar. The Bazaar is... Kerry and Yvonne are really sick of hearing me talk about this because I love...
Absolutely not.
The Bazaar.
I love the Bazaar. I love hearing about the Bazaar.
I love the Bazaar. So the Bazaar is a asynchronous multiplayer roguelike auto battle. And if you're not a true gamer and you don't understand those words, I'll explain it differently. The conceit of the Bazaar is that you go through a series of choices to select cards to put on your field, sort of like Magic the Gathering draft, if you've ever done something like that. If you've ever played Super Auto Pets, it's similar to that. You select which cards you get, and then you fight another player asynchronously. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. All of the cards sort of fire automatically. They do whatever their ability is on a cooldown. So they go, and then it will be like, wait 10 seconds, and then it will go again. All of the cards have like different abilities. Some of them do damage to the enemy. Some of them heal you. Some of them have like more obscure esoteric abilities. Point is to make them synergize with each other, to make them go fast, to deal a lot of damage, to protect yourself, take away your enemy's hit points during the battles. And this is what I mean by auto battler. So during the battling, you have no input at all. You just watch it happen. All of the skill is in selecting the cards that you choose and how you arrange them on the board so that as the battle starts, it's like this deterministic series of cooldowns. So you have to sort of imagine what's going to happen, put it together. Synergize the different keywords, the different abilities, make it all work. So the skill of the game is like knowing when will these cards appear. They usually appear in shops, so like you will select one of 3 shops, and you need to know what cards are available in each one, what potential cards there are. There's more mechanics than this. It's very compelling. Reminds me a lot of Slay the Spire. But it is a game with like, it's beautiful. It's so like complex. It's just got this really good like taste of multiplayer. So asynchronous multiplayer is where every time you reach a new milestone, your sort of build, your board, your selection of cards gets saved, and then someone else will fight it later. So you are fighting real other people's boards, but not at the same time as they're playing the game, which is nice. I think it's a great feature. So there is like a meta that develops, but without like yelling at people over microphones, which is cool. It's also like not super serious. Like you can take it pretty lightly. You don't have to be competitive about it. It's just a really fun game for people who enjoy that kind of like systems interaction kind of thinking. Like someone who likes City Builders or Europa Universalis 5. That's the game of the year. If you Google this game, you will find a lot of news stories about its creator being a dickhead. Not in a actually really problematic way, but just in like a kind of unpleasant fellow kind of way. And that is all pretty accurate. This game has had a lot of problems, especially with its monetization. I can't argue with any of those complaints because a lot of it really sucks, and it has done, I think, enormous damage to the success of this game because it has a poor reputation. I just want to say the game is really good. The game's awesome. You should check it out. You may have watched Northern Lion play it. That's how I found out about it. So that's my alpaca.
Woo! The Bazaar!
The Bazaar. Shout out the Bazaar.
Cool. Shout out the Bazaar. Shout out
Shout
of the
out
Devil. Shout out Rematch. That's those are the goats for 2025.
The alpacas.
That's right.
And Final Fantasy X. Shout out Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X.
It's just a good one.
Shout out Minecraft.
Shout out Minecraft big time. Best game of all time. No contest.
Shout out specifically the Cobblemon mod for Minecraft.
Yeah, you should shout out Cobblemon.
Hot dog. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it's sort of related. Cobblemon is a mod for Minecraft. Implements Pokemon. It just lets Pokemon spawn in the overworld. I have been playing it a lot. I think that Pokemon and Minecraft lend themselves to each other quite well.
They just added an update where you can fly.
Yes, you can ride Pokemon, and it feels like Pokemon really add to the exploration facet of Minecraft, and I think that Minecraft really adds to like the lived-in world feeling to Pokemon that is hard to do in Pokemon games. They play off each other very well.
Hell yeah.
And shout out to BDS. You shouldn't buy Minecraft right now. This is for those of you.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You definitely should not be buying Minecraft. Yeah. Let that be clear.
Yeah.
But if you already own it,
one of the long-term goals of this podcast is to do a Morrowind episode, but we cannot do it until Microsoft.
Yeah, they have to finish being evil first.
Yeah, they're gonna become good. I hope. So fingers crossed on that.
And on that note, you should all be learning how to pirate.
That's not the official stance of leading the party. That is a neutral.
No, I'm merely a guest. That's the official stance of Yvonne.
Yeah. Individuals do
I don't
not.
know what you people think.
Yeah. Last thing, I recommend getting a crystal skull. I have a crystal skull here. I forget exactly where I put it. But I've been kind of fidgeting with it this whole time. Oh, here it is. This is my crystal skull. I've been fidgeting with it. I've been sort of whispering curses and casting spells. I recommend owning and having a crystal skull. I find it a very useful thing to have, just generally speaking. Does anyone else have any recommendations before we go really quickly?
My recommendation is for crosswords. I've been making crosswords recently. You can go to crosshair.org/Tess. Do some of my crosswords. It's really fun. I want to recommend Wikipedia. One of the only good things we have left. Shout out Wikipedia. I want to recommend panettone. It was Christmas recently. We had some panettone. It was really delicious.
Any recommendations, Yvonne?
Chicken and pastry.
Okay.
Chicken, flour, and chicken broth. Cook it up.
Cook it up.
Tastes great.
Cook it up.
Great. On that note, thanks for listening to Leaving the Party, Leaving the Party is everyone's favorite transgender podcast blog. You can read or listen to more of it by going to leavingtheparty.blog. Oh, before I do this, actually, we're going to go back for a sec before I do this.
You're both transgender? What?
Yeah, it's a big surprise. We didn't tell
do.
you. I've been dating you for years and I just never told you. A couple things before we go. First of all, what we're playing next, we mentioned it at the beginning of the episode, but we are still doing Chained Echoes next. So you can expect the next episode that we release will be a Chained Echoes episode. So get ready for that. Everybody finish your homework.
That's me. I need to finish my homework.
That's okay.
I've been too busy.
And,
never mind.
Too busy.
I don't want to say it.
Yeah, I know where you were going. Thanks for listening, of course. Feel free to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Leave us a 5-star review. Other podcasts say that it's important. I don't really know what that does for us, but if you feel like doing that, you should definitely do that. I will read them. I'll read them all, and I'm gonna nod approvingly. If you leave a 5-star review, I'm going to read it on the show. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say, that's going to be read out loud with my voice. And I'll get up on the stage, and I'll tug at my collar, and I'll say, the reviews are in, and here's what they had to say about us. And I'll be reading from a card in my hands. And it'll be a little pathetic, and they're going to love it. So leave a little 5-star review if you feel so inclined.
Where can we find each of us before we close it out?
Oh, yes, that's a great idea. You can find me at leavingtheparty.blog or on Blue Sky, also at leavingtheparty.blog, or on David's social at Kerry. You end up on, and real ones know, is all I'll say about that.
Real ones know. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky, Tess Shillipoti. I think Blue Sky is just at Shillipoti. But you can find me on crosshair.org/Tess. You can read my comic books at tessshillipoti.com.
Yvonne, do you have anything you want to plug?
You can't find me in many places, but I am on Blue Sky at saintangel.bluesky.social. And I'm also on Steam at femboylover67.
You want all our listeners to friend you on Steam?
Yeah. You can play Dota with Yvonne.
Yeah, if anybody wants to queue up, hit my line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play offlane, just for anyone. Ladies?
What's your rank in Dota?
Oh, I don't want to talk about that. I got a job, so it went way down than what it was a year ago.
Okay. Many such cases.
You know how it is.
What was your highest rank? Can you tell us what that was?
I was immortal rank, which is the highest metal you can be at.
That sounds
formerly.
good.
It was good.
Yeah, ladies, that's really good.
It was good, and then I started.
You
my
became
9 to 5.
gainfully employed.
Yep. Donating my soul to the cogs of America.
I'm gonna do the outro now.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Leaving the Party. Leaving the Party is everyone's favorite transgender podcast blog. You can read or listen to more of it by going to leavingtheparty.blog. Leaving the Party is produced by yours truly, Kerry Lloyd, and the podcast art is illustrated by the lovely Tess Shillipoti. Thank you for listening again, and remember, it's Be Yourself Friday. Don't forget to be yourself. Oh, I'm gonna hit stop on this 5 hour and 45 minute file.